morning, everyone. We have quite a few people in the room here. We are in Stanz, in Austria, one of our selected villages, Smart Rural 21 villages. We already had a day yesterday together from villages across Europe. It was a cross visit. It was a lot of fun. We saw a lot of great initiatives from Stanz. We had a great dinner. Unfortunately, some of you missed it, but I hope many of you will be online with us today. You can join the discussion and so on. So what I would like to do is to introduce very briefly. This is the second regional workshop. The first one we had in Poland in Tomaszyn, and this one we are having in Stanz. I will display the program. Maybe I go to that in a second. So to explain what is kind of happening today. So you have to look, of course, the 5th of November. So we have this first session in a minute with some presentations about the support framework for smart villages. So we will hear a presentation from Fritz, Mayor of Stanz, and then we will hear. Unfortunately, one of the presenters is not here. He would have been online anyway, but we will hear from Julian Schnell, sorry if I pronounce it wrongly, Julian, about the support framework in Austria. And then we will have a discussion with the participants here, but you can also get involved. And I will try to show in a minute, maybe after Fritz's presentation, I will explain like how we actually do the Slido commenting. We will use Slido, so those who are online can also ask questions. Those who sit in the room, you can also ask questions through Slido, but we want to interact with you because you are sitting here. It's great for us that you are here in person. So please raise your hands, get involved in the discussion, but also those who are online can get involved in the discussion as well. So I think I will stop here myself and I will straight pass it on to Fritz, who tells about their smart village strategy. So I don't know if you can connect because I need to stop AirPlay and I let you connect, Fritz. This one as well, and this one.
Okay, thank you very much. Good morning. We had a lot of interesting discussions yesterday, and I thought I'm talking a little bit about our strategy and want to focus on one point. What are the soft skills you need to make a transformation? We've learned a lot about this topic because if you get involved in this engagement, you get also into a lot of conflicts, you know. The reason why in Stanz we are in charge was a conflict. So we were born out of a conflict. The federal government of Styria wants to fusion different communities. So we went down from 542 to 287 local communities. It was a big process, a big discussions, and Stanz was also this. Stanz is this one is Stanz, and we had to. The plan was to fusion it with these three communities, but the people of Stanz don't want. So that's the main reason we are in charge, and we did a movement and make a so-called Bürgerinitiative. So the big black one is the local government, you know, and the tiny green one is Stanz. So that was our first approach, how to communicate this theme. And we had a good discussion with the government. And after a year, we changed it. Yes, and that was the reason how to create this process over 2.5 years. And on the 3rd of October, the local governor of Styria called me and said to me, okay, you want not to fusion with the other ones, we let you go. So that was the main reason we were alone. And this was some discussions. People are very, very upset because discussion was top down and not bottom up. So we had big discussions, a lot of struggling, but at the end, we made it. So we remain independent. After that, we go to election. So these are these guys I talked yesterday. All these guys are supporting us. And the reason is when you get in charge, you had a lot of meta map expressions where you think about where should we engage, what is our plan to do, what's first, what's last. You know, it's very, very difficult to get a plan. So the next step was we were reading papers. When you talk about all that stuff to people, they can't. It's not a good way to convince that to be engaged, because nobody would understand all that stuff. It's very abstract, too complicated. This is all true. Everything you can read there is true, but people don't understand that. So a lot of concepts come from very, very good experts top down, but people understand that. That's the problem. So our learning was, most of the cases this one happens, you know, and that's a problem, because we learned that the only way, we talked yesterday to Edina, the only way is to transport information is emotion, you know, and that's very important. Positive type of emotion, because I want to tell you a story, because the relative to emotion is passion. And 3 years ago, I go by train to Salzburg, and an Afghanistan guy come in, and he explained me everything. He was the owner of a kebab shop, and he explained me everything about his business, where he buy from, what his sales are, what his company owns are. 3 hours later, I dropped off in Salzburg, and I said, and thought by myself, Jesus, I had to open a kebab shop, you know? And this guy was so passionate. So that's the key to make a connections to people. And that's a very important soft skill I think you need to get involved in this community transformation. These are 2 guys, they are passionate. These are 2 drivers from our e-taxi. They do it for free. Why? Maybe. There are so many different ways to be lucky, you know? The problem is, I don't know what is his reason for doing it for free. I don't know, but he knows. So I had to go to him and say, why are you doing this? Maybe they have 2 different reasons. So it's all about more or less communication. That's one thing. You need a plan, and a plan is a good approach. We were really lucky to be part of the program of Smart Village, because it moves us a big step further. Discussions with different people from different countries, very important. And we did it more or less, Rainer, in 1 night, the application. And it was, I think, a good investment. Rainer was the first one I asked. Rainer, we are now in charge. How many people do we need to move on? We are 1,850 inhabitants in Stanz. And he said, just in a second, 40. I said, why 40 and not 60? So I learned we mayors think on heads, you know, on people. Sociologists think in cohorts. So it's total different approach. Now we have 80 people who are engaged. A lot of people are reading what would be nice, but we need people who are engaged and hands-on. Heidrun Giertz is one of our supporters. He's an expert in change management, and he did a great job in establishing our grocery. So we could not have done all this work without her. It's very, very a great supporter. And the third one is for the guys from Slovenia. It's Vera Nussmüller. It's an architect who did all this work with our flats. So I think he is in the university at Maribor. So when you have emotion, you have passion, you have a plan. The next one is you need connection. We are on a big project in our country, in our village. We haven't talked till now. This is fiber to the home. People have to be connected. So all these little tiny spots you see there, these are houses. So we have 800 households in Stanz, and the plan is to connect them with fiber to the home. It's very expensive, but we get a lot of money. So the estimate is 10 million euros. Yeah, and we get 90% of them we get from public money. But we are on a good way. We had a very good support from the local government of Styria in terms of planning all this stuff. It's very, very complicated, but I think we are in a good way, and this is the plan how you do it. So every different color is one section which will be planned separately. So we do have a plan, and we go to the next call in February, and we will be ready in 2 years, so that everyone in Stanz is connected with fiber to the home. It's very fast internet. It's very important for all these disruptive business models we are talking yesterday. Maybe Rainer or Alex. Where is Alex? Alex will tell us today how this will work. So this is a prerequisite for this way. So the combination is social innovation, participation, and technical innovation. My personal opinion is all this technical stuff, we had to do it. But the combination to convince people to get engaged, this type of social innovation, that will be a problem. That will be a challenge to convince people to get engaged. And that's more or less our plan. So we have 3 strategies. The one is the research project on the red, then the Agenda 21, and the smart rural. So this is our approach on 3 different types. The research project we talked yesterday. We want to be a practice by example of an innovative plus energy district in a small community. So what does that mean? Last year we established a heat district. We put out all the oil and gas and put in biomass. So it was very, very important, and all people in the center are on board. So now we have a big station where we put biomass in, and the transformation from fossil to biomass is more or less done in Stanz. So we have a good basis to start. And we are thinking about when people produce electricity, we want to couple the sectors between electricity, for example, and warm water. When there is a lot of sun on midday, nobody needs electricity. We put this electricity to make hot water. There are 2 tanks, about 50 cubic meters water, where we can put all this electricity in we don't need at this moment. So it's like a storage. So this is the plan of this project we got from the FFG, 750,000 euros to do it for 3 years. So we are now more or less 1 year on the road. Very interesting things. And this is the combination. It's not necessary to go through all this stuff, but this is our approach of this Stanz Plus project. And this is the district heating plan. This was done last year. So was a big challenge because it costs a lot of money, but I think it's a good investment for the next 50 years. So the transformation is to establish local energy. You know, we use a lot of energy for mobility, for whatever, and we want to get from 30% to 100%. That's our main goal in the next 5 years. We think it's possible. We use biomass. 83% of our area is covered with forests. We have a lot of wood we can use. We have a lot of roofs where we can establish PV. We have a little water, and we have a lot of wind, as we saw yesterday. So these 2 plants we visited yesterday, they provide 20,000 households, so it's a lot of energy. And we try to make load shifts and want to sector coupling between hot water and electricity. This is our plan for future. Here we are. We are now sitting on these red ones here, and this one is already done, and this one should be established in the next 10 years. So everything we do now, we do it in combination. We have this one in mind. For example, we don't want to all this technical stuff we need for that stuff. We put in this house here, this one. We've bought that last year because we want to save money. So there's a plan about the next 10 years, and we try to stick to the plan and to establish all that stuff we do in a type of co-creation with all our people. Everyone in Stanz knows that, what we want to do, because this is their wish to do that. And so it's the way we try to use all the soft skills to move on. We have a big discussion between want we be autark or want we be too autonomous to choose which type of energy we want to use. I think the first one, to be autonomous, is very, very important, because with the local energy group, you would be part of the market, of the energy market. So we can sell and we can order electricity. So it's a better idea, we think. To be autark is more or less important, but to be autonomous, to decide in which type of energy market I want to be in. It's very important for future, because this is the key for saving money for every household. We have 5% of the people are more or less, they pay everything. They are like altruists, you know. They pay everything. They say, okay, it's very expensive, but I do it. 10 to 15% people say, okay, environment is very important. PO, yeah, it's important. I pay a little bit more. But 80% of the people say, what's in my money bag, you know? Where is my money going? So if we want to convince all the people, we had to think about maybe they need an immediate economic advantage when they will be engaged. When they will be engaged, that's the problem we are thinking about. Not 5 and 15%. You can't use this. You can't do the transformation when you get only 20% of the people. You need 100%. So you had to catch all the 80% which are just looking for their money. That's important. So yeah, Rainer will do a lot of stuff about social innovation. I want to end with this 3 type. Every human is this: Homo economicus, Homo ludens, and Homo reus. So it's a combination of that. And this is that's social innovation. This guy do it for free. Also, like the other 2 ones. So I think to convince people, it's very important to make a focus on this social innovation. Maybe that's the main important thing to do this transformation process. Thank you.
So I would like to ask, what communication channels are you using in social engagement?
We don't have social media. We don't use it. Because I think it's more or less wasted time.
What other tools you use?
Other tools are very conservative, I think. To communicate, you have to go to the people and talk. We have a homepage, and we have a type of app where we put on some stuff, but we are not engaged in social media. I think it's this type of process. You need a little bit trust. Trust is a very, very important thing. And you put something on social media, you get a lot of influences. They may be true. Yes.
Sorry, my question was not in social media, social engagement. So in engagement, what tools are you using? So you use direct communication.
Well, I think the best tool is to interest people, because if you do something, they are looking. What is this guy doing? And they are shy. They are waiting if this one will work or not. But if they are convinced this will work, they come, okay, I will help. I will help you. But the people are shy to engage. There are only 10 to 20% who say, okay, I help you. But most of the people say, I will see what's going on. Maybe it can fail. It's not good to be in a party who fails, you know? So they are waiting. And we live from the early adopters to convince people. We are 13 people who are together since 2012. And they know everything, also the secrets, you know? It's a team. And these are the early adopters. And this is the main key, I think. They try to convince other people to move in, to get engaged. We worked hard to come from the 13 to the 40 people Rainer mentioned, you know. Now we have 80. Yes, and that's very important, because if you are alone or just 10 people, you can't move them, you know. They had to do it by their own. That's the problem, because when you are the whole day moving people in this way, in this direction, you had a burnout in 2 months, yeah. So we try to do it via early adopters to engage them.
Can read that. Extremely interesting that social media is not needed in small homogeneous community. What do young people think about that?
Young people are very affine to all this social media stuff, and I I think young people, not every stuff which comes out of this social media is important. So I think young people decide very precisely what's very important for them and what not. My daughter is 29, you know. She's twice as, you know, the whole day, I don't know where she get all the time to do that. But she divides very precisely what's important and what not. So one eye does all on this stuff, but the really important thing, she uses two eyes. And that's not necessarily important to use social media, I think.
Okay, we will keep coming back to the questions, so please keep asking your questions. If you joined us a bit later, that's also fine. So I wanted to just reduce it. And with that, I will like to present to you a bit about the current state of play of the Smart Rural 21 project, because that's our main focus for today's event. So I will do an introduction and then I pass it on to Julian to present the Austrian framework. Hopefully it will appear on the screen. Here we go. Okay, so some of the slides might be familiar for those who followed the Smart Rural 21 project, but I will start again with a few reminders on where we are and what we wanted to do. So this project was running for 2 years now, almost. It will be 2 years in December, and we've got half more year. And it's been really a journey with the villages, with the selected villages, but also with other villages. So we selected 21 villages, and I explained it in a few occasions that sometime, I mean, we were supposed to select 17, but we received a large number of applications, and because of that, we already increased it to 21. It resonates very well with the title of this project, which is Preparatory Action of Smart Rural Areas in the 21st Century. So we started to work with these 21 villages to develop their strategies. We have a network of national experts. We have lots of local experts also in Stanz who helped with the strategy development because the project only provides relatively little support, so we really need the active engagement of the villages like Stanz. Without them, we couldn't have done that, but we developed all those strategies. And what's possibly more important is that we have many villages who wanted to follow the developments in this project, and those who applied, we didn't want to leave them behind, so invited them to a number of occasions, to the Smart Rural cafes that we were organizing regularly in the mornings. With different villages so that they can ask about their approach. We tried to keep in contact, and some of them actually visited Stanz with the support of the project yesterday. So we see the level of activity from there as well. So it's a real pleasure for us over these 2 years to work directly with the villages and try to provide support, but also to raise awareness about the smart villages concept in general. So this is a infographic that we often show, which is about the process of the project. We almost completed the journey. We are now towards the end. Actually, we are now at this bit. So all the villages that get direct support, they started to implement very concrete on-the-ground actions because that was one of the main purposes of the project, to really do something practical, hands-on, that as much as we can within this project. So in line with their strategies, they started to implement that. And then the next thing is we are approaching, and we are in the middle actually of that green circle, because essentially we are having 4 regional workshops, and this is the second one. Because of COVID, it was very challenging to have all before the end of the year, but we are really lucky. I think those who are sitting here are very lucky to see Stanz and hope, I don't know why it's moving by its own, I keep jumping back. So I think we are very lucky to be here, and it's difficult to describe for those who are only watching online the atmosphere of the village, but we hope we can see you at other events as well. So there will be one in Ostana, probably in January. We will send you the precise dates, and one in Torup in Denmark in March. And then the final event will most likely be in Penella in Portugal in April of the project. And we are approaching a phase as well where we try to formulate policy recommendations. So really, and this is the session, this is the purpose of this session, to discuss a bit like how initiatives such as those in Stans could be better supported by national, regional and local policies. So maybe at this point we could also launch, if you go to Slido, the second poll, Anna, we could maybe launch, which is related to a question I will show you in a minute, but you can see on your phones if Anna is launching it. Maybe Anna, you can read it out, the question.
From which level do villages get support from smart villages type of initiatives?
Okay, so with this question, we are interested, if you are a village here or those who are watching online, like where do you think you get the most support from for initiatives that really can advance the local community in its smart actions? Is it from the local level, regional level, national level? European level to some extent, or none of those? Of course, you can select more. So if you are a village, you can indicate where you get most support from. If you are not a village, you can indicate where you think villages get most support from. So we will have a look at that the results of that poll as well. So we are approaching these policy recommendations, which we are drawing from the experience of working with the villages. So as I mentioned, our experiences, and it's the case of Stans as well, that it's really the practical actions and hands-on actions that villages want support for. They have very, very concrete ideas on what they want to do in their villages. It's not just generic advice and what smart villages and how a strategy should be developed that they need, but they got most excited when we got to the stage of actually providing concrete support. And of course, every community is very, very different. So it's not easy to define one way. Everybody requested different support, but interestingly, there were also some typical requests from villages and similarities. And we've been discussing that with Julian and others over dinner yesterday. Like one interesting thing is to reconstruct buildings to make them lively again. And it's not just a reconstruction work, obviously, but for different type of community uses. And if you look, for instance, we didn't support that, obviously, but what's happening in Stans, the grocery store that they established, the building is just next to us. That's why I'm showing into that, pointing into that direction. So they changed the whole building. They filled it with life. The grocery store is a very attractive place for local people, but apparently people are coming from more remote villages because it offers a different model. It's run by a local family. So the whole building, I think it was bought, Fritz was explaining, and Fritz, correct me if I'm saying something wrong. So it was bought by the community. On the upper part, there is a very nice green area, and young people who are starting up families are living with elderly people in like small studio flats. Is that right? You've got 16 of those. Is it correct? Or yes? So on the two sides. So it's a building filled with life, and that's what many other communities want to do, like Szentviska, I'm sure we will hear about. We did the same, we supported that in Raudanma to kind of fill with life the different buildings and make good use of it for the community. The other topic, which is quite popular, is retirement village and how you can actually use digital tools, or is it possible, is it the right way to use digital technology to care about the elderly people? So this came up at least in 3 of our villages, and it's mostly our partner Empirica, who is specialized in that area, is working with villages such as Dingle, Solstedt and Penella. One interesting area, and I'm telling this to those villages sitting here, maybe to learn from each other, which is one of the main purposes of this project, is to create platforms, digital platforms where community members can exchange with each other, but it can be used for e-governance. I know it was a topic in Mukajov at the beginning as well, and they are working on that, but also to collect data from the community to improve, mostly to improve really services through these digital technologies. So again, the focus is on social innovation. It's not just on the technology. It's really to use creatively these online digital tools to engage different parts of the community. Of course, a critical question, and I think that's why it came up with regard to social media, is how to engage young people. And Mukajov will again, from Czechia, will present today. They are working with young people who are from the village, but now at university, and they try to engage teenagers in the local life. And this is a topic, I think, again, in Slovenia and many other villages, like how you can keep the young community engaged, which is really not that easy, especially the age group of teenagers. And this is the topic probably of today. We wanted to focus on the resilience of local communities. It's got some villages focus on innovation in agriculture, but of course, in the context of climate actions, the renewable energy is a key topic, and it's a key topic of Stans. They are working on this. So we made a bit the focus of this event, and the next session will be much about that. And Stans colleagues will tell us how they do it. So today's event is mostly on renewable energy and energy communities. So again, the focus is on the local level. And this is where I just wanted to mention a few things. I think we all need to emphasize, and I think Pavlos from Ecolis and colleagues from Stans can tell it better, that smart villages at the local level can be a perfect tool to achieve energy transition. It's absolutely aligned with the strategic priorities of the EU. We don't need to explain, I think, to you or those who are listening online the importance of the European Green Deal and how it fits into that context. But it also fits very much so in the long-term rural vision. And this is just a copy of that document, which it's created at the European level, but it really shows that these goals, this vision could be perfectly achieved just by actions at the local level. And this is what we want to show to you today, like how it can be done. It mostly fits into the more resilient rural areas. This is what the EU set within the long-term rural vision. It's again an image from that action plan, is to increase environmental, climatic and social resilience, which Stans is a perfect example of. And you can see that it's within that strategic action plan, that action which is highlighted, the energy transition is a key area. So I think that's what we want to learn, go more in depth today, to take the opportunity that we are in Stans. This is an image of Stans, of course, which perfectly fits with that vision. And I think the key segments which we really heard and can appreciate from Fritz as well and the whole community, that we feel it when we are here, that really the whole community is very much engaged in this process. Fritz was explaining yesterday over dinner how they developed the strategy, how important it was that people get engaged, that they really think of actions not just to put on paper, but they can really implement. And people then start to think like, okay, can we really go on with that? And I'm sure Fritz can tell more about that. We hear a lot of innovative solutions, and we are curious to hear from Alexander, from Rainer today about the token system they are creating and the blockchain, how they use it. And I'm just saying words because I think you will be able to explain it much better, like what they are being used for. Another why Stans is a good example of smart village, because it follows a holistic approach. It didn't just pick one project, as you could see from Fritz's presentation, but they are really applying it in a holistic manner. So they do different kind of things and connect them, from the grocery store to the social innovation, to get the community engaged in energy transition and energy community. So it's a perfect example that it's not just a single project we focus on here, but a lot more. And it's a combination of digital and social and technological innovation, which is a very key part of smart villages as well, that it's not just one, but kind of the two. So I think I will stop it here. Maybe one last thought before Julian comes in and he can tell that. We are also working on the Smart Rural 27 project, as many of you know. And what we also want to achieve with this session or raise awareness with this event, that we really need to rethink how we spend EU funds and how to make sure that these EU funds better reach communities. We did an initial analysis, but it's really just a draft analysis. We looked at those applications that we mentioned because people were listing projects in those applications and they were naming kind of the resources, where they get the resources from. And in addition, we also have a Smart Rural 21 database of initiatives with a specific budget and the source of funding. And if you look at it, it's a quite interesting picture. And I wanted to show you this, although this is a draft report, and I have to stress it's a draft and it's just one angle of the analysis. But what we see from there, that municipality, local government funds, sometimes foundations, NGOs, self-funded and private funding plays a very important role in these local communities. And EU funding, if you look at it, it's mostly the Common Agricultural Policy, but within that it's very much leader, the leader strand where villages might get support from. Also to some extent to the regional operational programs. We really need to watch out for those and connect to those. And cohesion policy is there to some extent, also Interreg and Urbact programs, which are mentioned by the different villages where they get support for their initiatives. But I think it leaves us with a number of questions we want to discuss today, like how to make sure that these communities can actually better access EU funding as well, and they don't have to rely mostly on the local funds, because we hear it day to day from the villages that it's very, very challenging to access some of the EU funding streams. And I think it should be our joint aim to somehow help these villages and make it happen better. So this is my closing slide. This was a bit of an introduction of what we do in the Smart Rural project now and where we got. I stop it here, and then of course, please keep asking questions. Those who are sitting here can ask questions as well. But if you want, you can ask online questions. I just need to try to close it, and with that I will pass it on to Julian. We will keep checking the chat if there are questions coming up. There are. Okay, so maybe we can display that. I just need to get out of here. It's not that easy as it looks. Okay, I'm checking. Yeah, okay. So this is the poll, like which, oh, that's very interesting. I didn't expect this. So from which level villages get support for smart villages type of initiatives? Many people think that it's the European level, if I see it correctly. The local level, and then followed by the regional and the national level. And there are some people who think none. We would love to hear their opinion, but we don't know who they are. But yes, it's an interesting picture that people think it's nice that support is also coming from the European level. But of course, we want to make sure, maybe it's the European level who thinks support is coming from the European level. We don't know that yet, but we see that 32 people participated in the poll. So it's really representative. So thanks for those who are online and contributed. And please keep contributing to the questions. We can go back.
Welcome everybody. My name is Julian Schnell. I'm working at the Federal Ministry for Agriculture, Region and Tourism in the Managing Authority. As you can imagine, we are right now in the hot phase of the preparing the CAP strategic plan, which will start in 2023. And in my division, my colleagues and me are especially working on the non-agricultural measures. And I was asked today to present our measures, our interventions, how they are called now, how we will implement Smart Village or the concept of Smart Village. Yes, I will wait. Don't worry. Something is coming. Maybe some word. I'm really happy that this conference is taking place here in Austria, in Stanz. What I've heard and seen so far, it's really, I think, a smart village. You can really call yourself like that. And especially if you see it on the ground, it's very interesting, and all this holistic concept they are using. Okay. Oh, great. Where can
You can
forward.
either maybe that's
Oh, okay.
oh sorry.
Well, that's perfect. Yes, I will jump to the second slide. So basically, we are going to implement the ideas and the concept of smart village in the CAP strategic plan via 4 measures, 4 interventions. That's leader, because we have a very strong leader communities in Austria, and we think leader and smart village are in a way very similar within their methods. I will talk a little bit later on it more. Then we are going to implement a measure called strengthening of village and town centers. It's a bit a follow-up measure of the village renewal support with a few new aspects. And the third measure we also think is an implementation of smart villages called Rural Innovation System. This is a totally new measure. Yes. I will go through it now, step by step. I will start with leader. Obviously, as I said before, there are a lot of overlaps in the smart village concept and in the leader concept, in the leader method. So we believe we should use leader to introduce smart village and to implement it. And we should use the local action groups, obviously. We see smart village for this local action groups, especially as a tool to tackle, to address more the local challenges, maybe for 2 or 3 or also 1 community or 1 municipality, or also not only on the administrative level, but also on the community level. We decided that we want, in the implementation of smart village within leader, we want that digital technology plays a role. Obviously, we had a lot of discussion on this, if this should be kind of an important aspect or not. But we decided, after all this discussion, to do it because it's kind of a distinguishing factor to distinguish a little bit the smart village projects to the classical leader projects. And also it's a little bit of a strategic idea behind it, to also push a little bit the local action group to think how they can use digital technologies. But, and I really want to stress this is digital technologies in that sense are not understood as an end in itself, but rather as a means to an end. This is very important, I think. Within leader and smart village, there shouldn't be any thematical restrictions. It's really up to the communities how in what direction they want to go, what smart dimension they want to go. And obviously it should be very holistic. That's the ideal thing, but it could be smart life, smart citizen, smart energy. Yes. The implementation of smart village within leader is not mandatory for the local action groups, but we will have kind of an incentive. So when selecting them, we see if there is in the local development strategy, if there is a clear indication of smart village ideas or strategies, we will see this as an innovative feature of the strategy. And we clearly recommend that as managing authority to the local action group to take up the concept. Yes, we also created a fact sheet for the local action groups where we got into more details how we see that. Here I put you the link on it. It's only in German, unfortunately, but I think you can translate it if you need more information on it. One last slide on leader. We see it's more a technical slide. We see the umbrella option, the umbrella scheme as a very good tool to introduce a smart village. So what are the advantages of these umbrella schemes? It's you can reserve leader funds for a specific topic or also a cross-sectoral topic, and to get more visibility, but also you don't need to have all the details already ready for all the specific projects. And within this umbrella, you can then slowly starting to get specific project, to implement project, to maybe also fund a project manager, to also fund a strategic process if it's not in place yet. Yes, that's the idea of the umbrella projects. And of course, the local action group is like a little bit the broker of the whole thing to also have the network. Oh, that was too fast. Okay, then I'm coming to the second measure. There are actually two measures, but they are very well connected together. Strengthening of village and town centers. So what's the idea? The idea behind is to focus on vacant areas and vacant buildings in the town centers, because the whole measure is based on ÖREG recommendations. What is ÖREG? ÖREG is the Austrian Conference for Spatial Planning, where all the different levels and administrative levels and stakeholders come together and think about the issues we have. And they clearly recommended that in Austria we have a national-wide challenge, I would say, that we have this, a lot of towns have a, you could say this it's often called the donut effect. There are a lot of structures outside on the outskirts of the town, shopping malls and so on. And in the town centers, there are a lot of vacant buildings. There is the town centers, they lose their original or traditional role as a social center, as an economic center, but also also they lose quality of life. And obviously all this, and we think that all this has a lot of negative effects. As I put here on the slide, you have these shopping malls on the outskirts. You need a lot of land use. You need a car to get there for elderly people. It's very difficult. Obviously, you have negative climate effects on it. The towns are getting empty. It's emigration outside of the town. Also the households and also on local supply, it's not there anymore. And all this is really hitting the quality of life for the residents in town at the end of the day. So what are the support mechanisms we designed? It's basically 4 activities you can get support for. The first one is to raise awareness for these issues, if you need that. The second one is to the creation of an integrated town urban development concept. In German, it's called ESEC. This is very much a strategy, an integrated strategy. For example, within this ESEC, there is a demarcation. What do we consider as a town center, and where we want to develop our town further. Or also there is a vacancy register part of this concept. And the third module, as we call it, it's the support for a vacancy or land use manager. This is a very new support system. This is really a personal cost for a manager who is in the region, in the municipalities, in the communities. And this is a very hard job because there's a lot of knocking doors jobs, because obviously the houses are privately owned very often, so they have to get motivated to do something with it, and also to raise awareness of this whole situation. So this is a very new support as we have. And the last module is for investing. If there are houses to rebuild, or not only houses but also other areas to get some investment funds if it's needed. We tried to design the whole measure in a way that also leader local action groups can be applicants, for example, or also other regional management systems really have access to this measure. So it should be kind of a toolbox. Yes, now I'm coming to the last one. We call it Rural Innovation Systems. For all of those who knows the European Innovation Partnerships, AGRI, this is very much built and based on the AEP Agri support function, and we have two support activities, two fields of support. And the first one is Rural Innovation Network Management. So basically, if you compare it with AEP Agri, it's the innovation broker. So we think there should be a kind of broker, a network, which is regionally anchored. Maybe could be, it's not only network in the sense of knowing people, but also it should be kind of a more structural and also a physical network. Maybe this could be around some schools, some universities. It depends obviously on the region. So this is the idea, to really support this kind of network building. And the second activity is the Rural Innovation Partnerships, also similar to the AEP Agri, where it's really the concrete projects on concrete thematics where you can get support on that. But obviously this is a very new measure. We don't have a lot of experience with it. That is why we started now at a year ago, we started a cooperation with the Austrian Research Promotion Agency. I think Fritz already, Fritz on this side, sorry, said that they also had a cooperation with them. They have there a unit which is called Regional Innovation Systems. It was kind of a coincidence because while we were designing our new measure, they were creating this new unit, and we didn't really know from each other. But then we got in touch, and we interpreted it as a good sign that we are on a good on the right way, let's say. Yes, and so the first action we took was to last year we had a call for tender on how to create vibrant working areas in rural areas, and there were 3 winner projects, and so these are our prototypes or pilot projects for. So the idea is to really get some prototype pilot projects to then have a good start when the CAP strategic plan measure starts in 2023. So just to get you an idea, the 3 winner projects. One is called We Locally. It's about vacant buildings and how to put them in use again, especially for communities. And the idea is also Austria has a lot of associations, which is very rich on associations, but they often have their own infrastructure spread everywhere around. But maybe to put them a little bit more together, and to create also kind of an incubator of innovation, or yes, to put them a little bit more together. The second one is about is a co-working for businesses, but not only, but also for communities again in Styria. And the third one is called Aussilanen and Heimkommen. It's not so easy to translate it in English, but it's basically going abroad and coming back, and especially for young women. Because when you look at all the analysis, demographic analysis and so on, which we did a lot before planning all these measures, the young women, educated young women, are really central for rural areas and to prosper, and we really have to serve them as much as possible, yes. Yeah, the next step, we are planning a call for tender next year, especially, and now we are planning to do that on the topic of smart village or smart regions. We're now in the consideration phase, but there will be a second call, and with support for, again, projects. And the second action field, or second part of the cooperation with the FFG is to try out this innovation network systems, and so this is really where the knowledge of the research promotion agency comes into play, because they are They are very knowledgeable people. They have a so-called innovation portfolio. What they can offer workshops, formats, participation methods, incubation, but also have a little bit of money for external experts to bring to the villages, and that's what they offer. So we always hear in the smart village concept that this knowledge transfer is so important, and that's I think one part they can very well offer. And we have right now running 2 pilots. One is in Carinthia in Pitzelstetten. It's around an agricultural school, so they want to have a little bit more outreach in their regions. They have a lot of knowledge. They have young people, so to try out, they have also infrastructure and working broadband and so on. So yes, that's one pilot, and the other pilot is in Lower Austria, and they're also trying out these regional anchored management systems. Yes, let me conclude. What we want with this cooperation is to get a broader understanding what is innovation in this regional context, also in this social innovation community context, and not so much only in the business context, because there is happening a lot with other funds and so on. And we also want to prototype our measures and get clear indication for the framework conditions. And so we hope that we get a really good start with the new CAP strategic plan in 2023. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Julian. Don't go away because I can see questions coming in. Let me try to display it, but maybe we read out. Maybe it's best to read here so that others can see it. Please keep asking questions. We want your questions, those who are watching online as well, because this way we see like you're interacting with us. And here we need more interaction in the room as well. Gez, I can see you might have a question. But okay, there is a question. You can see, Julian, the second one, which is also liked by someone. What are the specific actions that you as a managing authority consider to be smart village that lacks?
Yes, as I said before, we don't want to do any thematical restriction. It's really up to them where they have their issues or where is their vision. But what we want in the local development strategies, which they are now forming and planning, if they want to introduce the concept, they should also give us a little bit a hint on this vision. I don't know, 2 or 3 municipalities working together have a special vision, and to explain it also a little bit. But we don't say energy is better than tourism. I don't know, that's really up to them. We don't want to interfere in that discussion because it's leader and it's bottom up, and we don't know what is best for them actually, so yes.
Okay, maybe I think it's a bit linked. So let's take the second one from here and then we go back to the first one. I'm not sure to have understood the link between leader strategies and smart village strategies. How do you envisage it?
Yes. In Austria, I think for example, many villages have a local agenda strategy already there, or they made a local agenda process, and we very much consider that as part of a smart village strategy. So if there is something already there, they can put it in their leader strategy and say, okay, we did 1 year ago, we did this participatory process, and this is the outcome, and now we want to build on that. So this is perfectly possible. Or it's also possible if there is nothing there, that they make a leader project to do a participatory process on it. But we want just them to give us a hint in the local development strategy, and also to kind of that it's more how to say that, not mandatory, but that it's more clear that they want to go in that direction. Yes. Well, we don't give them any strategies. It's upon to them. Ideally, yes, it should be linked to the leader strategy. But I think that it's leader strategy are very broad, and I think there are always ways how to link it in a good way. I think this is possible.
Okay, I think you're very popular because there are many questions. Okay, then I think we can take the leader, how to over... Okay, I think there was one. If a smart village wants to use support scheme from strengthening villages and town centers, is the digitalization aspect mandatory too?
No. So we only made that for leader to give there a little bit of strategical push, but the strengthening of the village town centers, there will be parts of the, when you look at this vacancy register and so on. Of course, this is also digital, and so, but it's not a mandatory to do something digital to get support from this measure.
Okay, I'm purposely skipping that question, like how to overcome the difference between developing and poor member state. I think it's very, very hard to answer unless you, Julian, can answer it, and that have more resources and the focus on further development. I mean, all I can say, of course, we cannot answer. It's a very complex question, I think, but definitely in the Smart Rural 27 project, what we can do is exchange of ideas. And I think it's just shown that in Austria, some of the countries experiment. They try to do both at the local level and at the national level, the support framework, although Smart Villages is new. So I think those countries who may be less developed also in that sense, not economically, I think they could really learn. We want to facilitate this learning process. And we know that there are managing authorities sitting here in the room as well. So we hope to have a lively discussion. But I think it's very important to learn from those member states who really try to do something and build this concept into their CAP strategic plans, even if it's not mandatory at the moment, beside one indicator. So with the Smart Rural 27, this is what we definitely want to do at the European level. And I think that's the most I can answer. But if anyone from the audience has some ideas on that, how to close that gap between the more developed and less developed member states. I think that has been, and Julian, you've been part of the thematic working group of ENRD, and that has been a topic that with digitalization, it might not be fair because many countries are lagging behind with no proper broadband connection and so on. And we shouldn't exclude them, but that's why I think the social innovation concept was included as well. And that's the main idea. I don't know if you have any reflection on that.
Yeah, it's difficult to answer. Of course, within the CAP strategic plan, the agricultural measures are very important, and of course, there's always this fight between agricultural measures and intervention and money, but the CAP strategic plan is not only for agriculture; it's about the rural development. So we always, at least in my division, we always try to emphasize that rural development is not just agriculture. It's also agriculture benefits a lot if there is a good community and a good quality of life in their villages, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, any comments? Yes, please, because I wanted to.
Hello, my name is Jill. I'm from Romania. I'm a manager of one of the legs in our country. I have two questions. One, who can request money from the Smart Villages project in Leader? The city hall, NGOs. Who can request money?
Yes. All the applicants who are also possible in Leader. So it can be a municipality, it can be a community. Well, in Leader, basically all kind of beneficiaries.
Included the LAG?
The LAG itself as well.
Itself. If
it could happen that the LAG says, okay, this is a very important strategical topic for us as LAG. We want to be the applicants we want, for example, in these umbrella schemes, it could perfectly be the LAC themselves to say, okay, we want to focus on this, but it's not a it's not a must. It's always a bit difficult for the LAC as well to. But if they think it's important, they probably do it. But it's up to them if they want to.
Okay, and the second on the big DLS, you know, it will be a part of the budget for smart village concept, or
No. We had discussion if we should get extra money if they include a smart village or something like that, but we didn't do that because it's also not so easy. And so we give when we are selecting lags, we give them the budget, and they then can, with the umbrella scheme, for example, they can say, okay, I want to reserve 100,000 euro for smart village project.
Good answer. We don't know how it will be in our country, but probably it will be kind of the same. My colleague asked me. Okay, so it's very interesting, and I don't know. Probably the total amount is different from country to country. So for the next period, I don't know. Probably in Romania will be kind of 2.5 million for each lag. It's just a curiosity. In Austria,
it's
maybe you can approximate.
Yes. Well, we have in this period, we have on average, we have 3 million per lag in this period. Of course, this period is a little bit longer with all the extensions. And it will be, I cannot tell you the budget now because the negotiations are right now ongoing. But I can tell you all these 3 measures we have will be, there will be budget for them. And also for LEADER, we try to get a good budget.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Very diplomatic answer. Okay. I think there are questions flowing in and we will try to... so one of them on the top, do you think there is... Guys, sorry. One question there. Alexander, go on.
Hello, I'm Alexander from Croatia. Just wondering, is there any ideas or talk for multi-fund financing of smart village approach, especially concerning the cohesion policy and the regional policy in general? Or did you decide only to stay within the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in general? Thank you.
We have in Austria, we have in Tyrol, in the province Tyrol, we have CLD multi-funded with the regional fund, and also in Carinthia a little bit. But you are right. We talked also with our colleague from the other funds how they are implementing smart village. They are not, in my view, there is probably not so much going on at the moment. They didn't pick the concept up in a way we did it probably in the EARDF. So maybe this is, I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Austria at least we are doing it via the CAP strategic plan only, basically, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a short question, that will you use the compulsory 5% or you go over?
Well, the compulsory, it will be, I hope.
Oh, so you stay with that. And if I may ask the Bürgermeister, because it's a relevant question, that was there any collaboration or cooperation with the LAG here in your history? And is it a good cooperation?
I think it's a good cooperation because the reason is it's bottom up. So that's very important for us. Because in type of if you want to communicate that, bottom up is always better than top down in terms of people's view.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions from the audience here? We can maybe take the one on the top. Do you think there is harmonization between smart village approaches across the EU to promote compatibility and comparability? I might not be the right person to answer that. Maybe you can say like how you exchange with other managing authorities, but maybe just 2 ideas on that. Obviously, there is the definition which the EU came up with based on the pilot study on smart eco-social villages, which we also regularly refer to. We try to operationalize that definition in the context of smart villages, so really translate it into concrete things in the sense, for instance, we are creating a geomapping tool in the Smart Rural 27 project, so we really need to understand what is a smart village. So when we tell to the experts to identify smart villages, it's not so obvious, it's not so easy because there is no like a formal policy framework yet. But definitely the other thing that I want to emphasize, that we are setting up task forces in those member states where there is interest to work on policy issues around smart villages. And what we want to do at the European level, that let's say managing authorities like that of unions to take part in exchanges at the EU level. So those organizations with the same responsibility to exchange among each other. And I think it will be very valuable, for instance, at the managing authority level to see how one country is dealing with the same issue. So that I think hopefully will contribute to this comparability and compatibility of the approaches across member states. But I really think it's an experimental phase. So we can only just encourage the different member states to pick up this opportunity like they do it in Austria, and to include something inspiring, a support framework within the CAP strategic plans and hopefully beyond. This project has a steering group at the European Commission level, which doesn't only include DG Agri, but many other DGs, and they are fully supportive of the Smart Villages concept. So it would be very good achievement to cooperate with other funds, as Alexander was asking it as well. So let's try to work on that together with other managing authorities. I don't know, Julian, if you have any comments on that.
Nothing really to add. Thank you.
Okay, so let me maybe conclude this session. Of course, we will have a coffee break here, but those who are also watching, and thanks a lot for the presentation for both of you. So the way we go from now, so that everybody knows, we have a coffee break, but within the coffee break, we are experimenting again. We've got far away from here, our Finnish colleagues working actively in an innovation camp in rural Finland on the topic of smart villages. So the idea, the initiative came up from them that we should maybe try to connect online, live, which is the most complicated probably we can experiment with. So we try to live stream that and try to connect through Zoom to the people in Finland just to say hi and see how their event goes and tell them how our event is going on. So this will happen in the middle of the coffee break. It's not obligatory, but please come to the room just to wave, and I will ask Fritz to say a few words about this event and Stanz to welcome those participants in Finland. So that will happen our time, 11:15, so in some 15 minutes. Their time, they are 1 hour ahead. So we will try to meet them. Let's say if it works and if we can live stream it as well, that would be a huge success for us. And then we move on to the energy transition topic more in depth, because that's the focus of today. That's what Stanz is working on. And Michael Fischer, our national expert, will help facilitating that session. You can keep asking questions. We will, even in the break, coffee break, you can put your questions and we will try to answer them. Yes, we will share the presentations from today on the Smart Rural 21 website, as we usually do with the regional workshops. So we will try to upload as soon as possible all the presentations. So wherever you are, enjoy your coffee and break, and see you, some of you, in 15 minutes, hopefully with Finland online. Thank you very much.
All right, so welcome back, everybody, here in Stanz and via YouTube. I'm Michael. I'm the Austrian national expert in the Smart Rural 21 project, and I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to kind of facilitate the next session here. And we're, as Edina already announced, we're switching from the policy perspective to the energy transition perspective. And we want now to dig a bit deeper in what Stanz did in the past, what they're doing currently, and what they are planning to do. And when you recall the presentation of Fritz and these pathways, these 3 pathways, then there was one pathway that was called social innovation. So that seems to be quite a strong issue here in Stanz, and I'm very curious about what's behind this term and what Stanz is doing in terms of social innovation. And I'd like to introduce and welcome Rainer Rossecker and Alexander Baldale, who will the Stanz way, both heavily involved in the current projects. And Rainer and Alex, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you, everybody, that you're here. The Stanzway is a notion from Fritz, and he was doing it. The Stanzerweg, he called it like this, what we are doing here. And now you're all part of the Stanzway. So we are really happy that you're here, and we hope you are also feeling well here. So because this for us is very crucial, somehow feeling well and somehow bringing in, even when it's winter. So I wanted to bring a winter perspective of Stanz. Is also very nice here, I have to say. And so I want to talk a little bit about the past. So what had we been doing since 2015, and what had been the challenges we had been facing. In the year 2015, when Fritz called me, he said it before, when we had a talk about what can we do. So we had population decline, we had vacancies in the village center, so we had this loss of supply infrastructure, different infrastructures you need normally for life, loss of local shops in the center and in the village, lack of housing options, especially for young people, as mentioned before. So a dependence on PKWs, automobile traffic, and somehow a lack of participation in decision-making processes. So we say lack of democracy. So we needed to introduce new ways of democracy. So this is a picture of the shop, how it was looking like 4 years ago. The shop you saw before, so it was vacant, so the last shop had been going. This is a picture of social life that had been here in the village center, connected because of the loss of infrastructure. So people just had been in their automobile, driving to Kindberg, driving to other villages or cities, doing shopping there, working there, and no social life really had been here in Stanz anymore. So what we had been doing, we started a participation process, Local Agenda 21. I told you yesterday. Then for us it's important when we do participation, not only to be in a room and discuss and have a discourse and have it in the theory, so really to quick wins and impulse measures, so hands-on and integrate people with their different resources they have to bring them into our processes we want to facilitate. So we had the Hupfaufbankerl, it's analog ride-sharing platform, the Dorfwerkstatt, it was the project office where working groups have been working, Kostniksladen, the swap shop you saw yesterday. Then the E-Taxi, some of you have been driving with the E-Taxi, with volunteers, they are doing it. Then the new construction, we are in here today, apartments, village grocery, the FFG project, etc. So here you can see really the working groups we are doing. So, okay, discussing also with young people, what can we do, but then really go into these hands-on processes. So also the picture of the small lake over there, we told you to bring working groups there and they can really integrate into the process. So the swap shop, we told you, also the Hupfaufbankerl, there's one located in front of, so it works when the umbrella is open and one person sits there, he wants to take a ride somewhere to the next village. So it's not that potential mobility, I would say, but it's somehow to make people think about. Yeah. So think about mobility, think about what does it mean when everybody singular sitting in a car and going forth and back. So think about other forms of mobility also. So then we also did a survey in the year of 2019, asked all the people, so what is important for you in the village life and how you are satisfied. And so we saw school, kindergarten, social life, there's a high certification, so it's very important for the village life. but there's a lack of social meeting points, a lack of public places. So you see there's many traffic over there, and a lack of somehow possibilities for the use. So here you can see a rendering from Werner Nussmüller that he was doing for the new building. So we really started the process to strengthen the core of the village. So it was very important to make measures here, to bring life here, to bring the shops also again here. So one nice picture, you see an element, it's prefabricated, and it was built over there in the construction site. Okay. So then the shop you have been seeing, with the conference also here 1 year ago, it was also coming together on a regional level, Styrian level. We got in contact with other persons, and you see the A-taxi, it's the old one. Now there's a newer one, a bigger one, a better one, where the volunteers are driving with it. So these had been very important measures, I would say, somehow to prepare the base, to prepare the heart, to prepare the center of the village. Yeah? And so really to take small measures like the swap shop, like the Hupfhofbankerl, but even the big ones with the grocery, with the housing. And in doing this so, and Fritz mentioned before, it's about getting trust. And somehow people saw, okay, they're not only talking here in such rooms and talking what to do, so they get really trust that there is being something happening. And when people are integrated, they see there's a remuneration because they see something is happening like this we see before. So for us, this was a point and the possibility to say, okay, we can go somehow higher in our ambitions and really to go into the issue of local energy transition. So Fritz mentioned before what are the resources in this area and why it stands quite interesting for this local energy transition process, because we have these resources, we have hardware here, and then as Fritz also mentioned, social innovation is for us a crucial point, because in the area of energy transition, so we have so much technology and we have the technology to do it and to go this transition way. But the most important thing is the people, to take the people with us on the way in the process of energy transition. And so therefore for us it's very important taking these learnings from the last 5 years, take the trust we got there during this process and really make the Standsway to the future with this way of social innovation. So within the smart city strategy, we made a SWOT analysis, and so we analyzed what are the strengths we have here. It is this active civil society. Fritz mentioned 80 people with us on this way. There is a proactive, innovative policy here in the village, and we are happy to have this smart village strategy and being with you in this network. Wood, we have a resource, Fritz mentioned. Water, we have as a resource. We have the best wind sites in the outer Eastern Alps. And we have, of course, the sun, and it's shining again, as solar energy, potentially in decentralized power plants. What are the opportunities? So we are discussing within this FFG project since 1.5 years, 2 years, about the opportunity to establish this peer-to-peer energy and electricity trading and sharing approach Fritz mentioned also before. So these renewable energy communities as new alternatives in a quite highly regulated market when we see the traditional energy suppliers. Then the technical issue, this sector coupling, because we have biomass, we have water, we have wind, we have solar energy. And so really to try find ways how to couple it in the best way, in a most effective way. Then advancing smart approaches within the community development. Alex will add on this. Now then find new business models within these things we are doing. And of course, digitalization as a good opportunity within this process. So, and then we had been working 2 years on this issue, and we knew there will come a new law in Austria, the EAG, Erneuerbaren Anlagengesetz, so Renewable Plant Law. And this was introduced, this new law, so there was a long discussion process. There was a long lobbying process from the big energy suppliers. And so in July this year, this new law was introduced. So in background for this new law is that Austrian government decided or have the aim and the goal that energy production should be 100% renewable within the year 2030, so within 9 years. So in Austria, we are now on a level about 70-75% renewables, but really reaching this 100% and the last 25% we have to go, it's very hard because it could not be done with the big plants like hydro plant, like other plants. So there are in other regions protests against wind parks. So it's a really crucial point. How can we really integrate people? How can we do social innovation? And how can we establish peer-to-peer solutions in this way within the 2030 goal? And with this new law, the Erneuerbaren Anlagengesetz, so we have the possibility now to go in this peer-to-peer trading process. So, and now I make a cut because I talked about the past. So this is present, and Alex will talk about future.
Energy community, because as Rainer already mentioned, the new Austrian law makes it possible that everybody can have his or her solar station on the roof and create energy and then also sell it to the neighbors. So it's the first time that this is possible, that you can really create energy on your roof and not sell it into like the general grid, but you can sell it to the neighbor, to someone in your community you want to kind of give the energy to. And with blockchain technologies and smart meters and wallets and all this technology that we have, we can now also address the issue of how we organize this community, this renewable energy community. And it's not an issue on the technical side. This can be quite easily solved, but it's an issue to have a community that wants to do this, that wants to be engaged, that has kind of the needs, the motivation to do it. And I just put on some information on the slides here, on the next one, what would be the motivations of a community and what would be the motivations here in Stanz. As Fritz already mentioned before, a lot of people see saving money or like the financial aspect as one of the key issues that drives them. But then there is also like the use of green energy only for whatever you spend your energy from. That's also an issue. And then some people said they want to have like some security in blackout prevention, but they can't handle it on their own, in their own home, because it's very expensive. So then has to be a smart solution for this to do it as a community. And this is also a topic that came up in discussions with people in Stanz, like what's the motivation why they want to participate in this energy community. And another one, of course, is to show pride of like being part of a community, doing something locally here, being part of the transition of how energy is produced, and also the transition of how energy is going to be consumed, like how you're going to be spending the energy that you produce on your roof. And with the distributed ledger technology, which means that you can have a lot of peers in one network and every peer is contributing to validating what the network is kind of doing and also contributing how the network evolves. We can use this technology for forming a community. We could also do it centralized, have like a database somewhere in the mayor's office, and then every information goes there. But I think having each member of the community be part of the validation process and be part of like how the whole system is organized and kind of shaped, and also having then here to also be part of like the validation, as I said before, and then where it should go, and also creating the system, like how you want to give out. If you create energy and you have a measurement kind of in kilowatt hours, and that's the currency you're going to be trading it. So how do you measure and how do you value what people are doing with the kilowatt hours? And this brought us to another step, because this is the underlying energy community. And then the next step that we want to approach within a year in Stanz is that we kind of create this e-token, which represents the kilowatt hour. But on top of this, I mean, this is going to be very handy for organizing the community and organizing the production, like also organizing on like a smart contract way, like how energy is produced, how is it kind of measured, how you see it in your smart wallet, and that you create the energy. It's like streaming the energy in your wallet, and you see how we get more kilowatt hours, and then you can spend it for things you want to spend it on. But on this level, it's only possible to spend it for other opportunities where kilowatt hours are needed. And we want to take it in Stanz with the project we started now with the help of the European Commission and this setup up here. We want to bring it one more level up. And the one more level up means that we want to create a local currency on top of the energy community, which kind of then opens up the opportunity for like all the other things that you could have here in the community, like going shopping at the grocery store or incentivizing community work, or buying other stuff within the community here. We want to, with this project, find out like how does this work? How can we keep the money within the community circulating? And how can we make it happen that like this is kind of a circle that works, so that the money circulating within the community is efficient. We have enough people producing energy, but also enough people kind of where you can spend it. So we need to create this whole community that accepts, for example, the Stanz coin as a currency, as a means of value. And what I find very interesting in this project is that we then can also think about valuation of what's the value of contributing to the community? What's the value of kind of working, living in this village, contributing? How do you build trust within the community, and how do you value this? And this could be something totally different than like our regular system of having like money and valuing things on money. It could be a different currency for a community, how you value the thing and the whole value of the community you have here. And I think this is very, very important also to be seen in a European context, because I think in Europe we have a chance with these networks, with the initiatives, that we can really make the small communities very innovative and very like testing out things, and then we can roll it out to all the other communities, and then we can roll it out to the other states, other member states. And I think this is something that's unique for Europe, because we are so diverse than other continents, if you see it on like international macro level, that this could be very, very interesting for Europe to be in the social innovation, really like on the peak and like work there and be leading in this level. I will step over like the technical issues, like how you kind of create a token, because I think this can be read in different papers, and we can also hand out a paper about this later on. And I would go now to the social innovation is key, Rainer, and bring you back on the stage. Maybe you want to add some words here.
So thanks a lot, Alex. Yeah, this is this scheme also Fritz showed before, and it we all the time try also to find ourselves where we are on this way, and what are our opportunities and what are our targets. So this is a very crucial scheme for us to locate us where we are on the Stanzer way. But with this, Alex presented now the idea is that people can go on the evening to Oberer Gesselbau, where we had been eating yesterday, and he has his smartphone, and he says to the other people there, hey, look at this, I want so much e-tokens, Stanzer e-tokens today, I can order a beer for us all. And the next round, the other guy says, hey, I've been driving so much hours today with the e-taxi, so I earned these e-tokens, I bet the next round. So this is the vision behind it.
This brings us to the last slide.
Not just drinking beer, I have to say, but also buy organic food or having our services, okay? Okay, thanks a lot.
But this brings us back to why we are doing this, because it's about the community. It's about like, and that's also why we chose this photo. It's about all of us here, wanting to contribute and wanting to learn and wanting to involve. And
yeah,
it's always about the why.
Right. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, Alex and Rainer, for this insight into your thoughts and plans for the future, and especially in the way how you plan to add value to the things that you're doing. I suppose that some questions arose in between. We do this a little bit different than in the session before. It is foreseen that we have got a second presentation where we come in a minute. And afterwards we make kind of a panel discussion where all questions to Alex, Rainer, and in the following presentation, Pablos, is summed up together. And together with Fritz, you have the opportunity to discuss this very hands-on and in detail with all of the presentations today. So thank you both, and I'll come to the next step here. Yeah, the questions, just to remind you, Slido. Use Slido for all of you who join via YouTube, and for sure all of you here in Stanz can use Slido as well, but anyways, keep your questions in mind, and we'll continue afterwards. So after this in-depth view of what Smart Village Stanz is planning now, there was one person that supported this process so far, Pavlos from Ecolease, who did workshops with Stanz to support them in their planning, in the planning issues, and he added a view from abroad, from the Ecolease network, and I'd like to invite Pablos now to give an insight into other examples that are relevant for Stanz. So just get inspired, and Pablos, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks very much. My name is Pablo Georgiadis. I am a rural innovation consultant specializing on food systems and energy transitions. And I have the privilege to collaborate with this great local team here in Stanz in the last 4 months as like a strategic advisor. I work for Ecolease. Ecolease is the European network of community-led initiatives for climate action and sustainability. We work with the whole spectrum of rural social innovation and transitions, from eco-villages, permaculture, transition towns, some very interesting work happening on the ground all over Europe, which is not always followed by policy makers. And we feel that within the Ecolease network, a lot of the aspirations of the European Commission in terms of the European Green Deal, energy transition, food systems transition are already happening on the ground. But sometimes those dynamics fail to be visualized at the level of the European Commission. And here comes the importance of projects like Smart Rural 21, which can really bring all those dynamics together. So part of my role was to look out around the world for best cases that could inspire the already inspiring case that is happening here in Stanz. And I will be just sharing 3 of them from Germany, France, and Belgium, and try to project what is happening here at the local level with some projects that are already happening since a few years. And I do believe that Stanz is a best practice on the making. And I do like the fact that it is driven by the right reasons, like a strong pioneer team, support from the local authority, emotion, very important word. And I'm really glad that Fritz turned his emotion not into a kebab shop, but into a, you know, a community mobilization. And of course, I have to also recognize the presence of the representative of the ministry. I have been following the CAP strategic plans of Austria since the previous CAP reform, 2012, which was already quite advanced in the European context. And you know, all these come together. It already shows us what type of ingredients we need to have in place in order to cook a nice cake. And the Stance way, it looks like a promising recipe, which hopefully can be used with your own adaptations based on your own traditions from your rural areas. So there is no blueprint of what makes a best case. Everything should be based on the actual need and challenges, and Stance already had some challenges. And I think this type of emotion-driven approach is very important for mobilizing your own communities, because after all, everyone understands that we have to deal with fragility. Our communities are fragile. The energy system is fragile, the food systems are fragile, the climate system is fragile, even our hearts are broken by the fragility of our emotions when we see our villages emptying. And I think this type of connections are important to mobilize communities all over Europe, because the political momentum exists, the technology exists, and the science exists. So with no further delay, I'm getting you in the first case, which comes from Wolfhagen in Germany. And this is really one of the pioneer projects of community remunicipalization of energy. It started back in 2003, where a visionary manager of the public utilities of Wolfhagen convinced local decision makers about this necessary transition. They brought to their attention that the concession contract of one of Germany's largest energy companies was expiring for the windmills, and he convinced the local authorities to get into a negotiation with this energy community. So after 3 years of negotiation, the city set the objective of becoming 100% renewable powered by 2015. And in 2013, we had the creation of the Bürgerenergiegenossenschaft, like a citizens' energy community in Wolfhagen, to ensure that citizens could benefit from this energy transition. And nowadays, a quarter of the stakes of this energy community belongs fully to the citizens who are able to participate in decision making. It's a company, it's an energy company, which is co-owned by the community, and 70% is owned by the city itself. So through this process, the achievements, I hope it's visible, the size of the funds. The energy, the 100% renewable target was reached thanks to the construction of a wind farm that was owned by the city and the community. The energy community now owns 25% of the capital and contributes, as I said, to strategic decision making. 2 community members are part of the 9-member supervisory board of the public utility. The shares of the community are already providing very decent dividends, so people are earning money because they produce and distribute energy. And in fact, in the context of rural transitions, the research says that energy communities are one of the most successful drivers, because people start getting their benefits in their utility bills and in their pockets. The company makes profit every year. It was able to pay back its loans, and the city even built a kindergarten for the local community from the money that they generated. They have won international prizes, and since 2005, 284 municipalities have followed the example of Wolfhagen, including the city of Hamburg, the second largest city in Germany in reclaiming power over the energy sector. So just let's imagine what it took to come here. Challenges, of course, were also present, like the remunicipalization, like 15 years ago, was like a new thing. There was a lot of resistance of whether this thing could work. There was no legal places in play, legal frameworks in place, at least at the European level. Now there are European laws, at least on the make. There was a lot of resistance from the energy company. There was resistance by the citizens that didn't really want to have a wind farm or windmills around the community, but the city followed such participatory processes and multi-stakeholder consultations and managed to work around them. Lessons for Stans. I think this is a successful example where negotiations with an energy giant really worked to the benefit of the community. And for sure, a lot of time could be saved by coming in contact with this community and really understand what drives and what stops this type of negotiations. It's also an example of reinvestment of profits to infrastructure, like energy infrastructure, but also to the next generations. They have built a kindergarten. That's an investment to the future. And they also provide decent payments as dividends to the members. And of course, it's also a profitable municipalization of energy. The next best case is ACOPREV, which has a different governance model. So an indication that, again, there is no blueprint. There's diversity in the governance, the nature of energy communities. It is an energy independent microgrid in rural France and is, again, using different forms of energy for production. It's a little bit more recent, 2016, 5 years ago. 3 mayors came together and they really put things down and decided that there is an opportunity to connect energy transition with the future of jobs, like revitalizing the local job market by also utilizing local resources to produce energy. So closing this gap between production and consumption of energy, but at the process also generates job opportunities for the local people. So ACOPREV is a member of the Association of Village Centers of the region. It's an umbrella network of renewable energy social enterprises, which extends in several regions in France. It's promoting an integrated territorial approach and bottom-up governance and develops tools and services that are shared from all this network. For example, the experience that is gained from one village is shared automatically with the other village. And they have this push and pull approach to increasing energy communities around rural France. They strengthen the professionalization. Like our rural communities don't wake up tomorrow and they are energy experts or experienced managers of energy companies. But by strengthening capacity and encouraging a professional approach into this is also a task of a successful umbrella network. And I think what is also interesting is that they combine the production also with experiments, with research on how to make this more viable, more scalable, and more diversified. So they have installed and operated renewable energy production plants. They sell the energy they produce. They develop and promote energy saving in the wider region. And they somehow support like a scalability of the project. For example, they go together to buy materials from a local supplier with the whole network of energy communities. So relevant lessons for Stans is the operation of a local microgrid using different energy sources. You mentioned about biomass and solar. Combination of local energy production consumption with EU-funded research and innovation is important. And member of this umbrella network that aims to build capacity and scale for renewable energy at the local level and several municipalities. Because if Stans is inspiring all of us here today, this inspiration and this action at some point comes with a responsibility to take with Stans, well, entire Austria, essentially. And I do believe it's a golden opportunity here, you know, working at different levels of governance, like from the community to the local municipality to the ministry, to try to scale these approaches so the benefits become more visible and more measurable. And the third example I'm showing you is COPEM. It's a joint venture again between the city of Mouscron and citizens. And this was really an incentive program for local households to install photovoltaics, exactly like Stans wants to do, like motivate the local community, not just because they love their local village, but because there are certain measurable incentives for people to jump into this. So now the local cooperative in Copem, 55% of the cooperative belongs to citizens. So the majority of the cooperative belongs to the citizens, 50% to the city. Also an interesting model of municipalization, because visionary local authorities exist now, they don't exist tomorrow. So this should not jeopardize the success of something that is essentially an energy business. And 30%, but also a community-driven business, and 30% belongs to energy companies. So there is potentially also a role for the players of the current game, because they also feel the pressures of centralized energy, and they have infrastructure, they have know-how, they could be part of the game. And this is what Copem shows. So in 2017, they have this first wave of solar panel installations on roofs, and in 2018, a second wave. So helping individual households with know-how, but also incentives to install photovoltaics. Parts of the incentive was removing the upfront cost by providing advanced payment for regional solar subsidies. And normally those concessions were granted for 5 years. So that was really already something that the city was co-funding, incentivizing. Handling the technical and administrative processes from A to Z. So, like a one-stop shop approach for somebody that doesn't know how to do it, but has interest in doing it. Joint purchases of equipment from local suppliers, getting better prices when you have to buy 20 panels instead of 3. And also help with installation, monitoring, and validation of the solar infrastructure. What was also interesting was that they have also instituted a leasing plan for local businesses, which obviously have larger needs than households. Like in our households, we have certain energy consumption, but go ask this local mini market that has to power all these fridges, or a local hotel. There are also actors with larger needs that need larger supply of energy, and there they financed 90% of the initial investment, which should be paid back over 10 years through green bonds. Bonds like the banking system, but bonds for climate. So achievements, citizens got easier financial and technical access to solar energy investments. They reduced the carbon dioxide emissions, of course, according to the city's commitment, while boosting local jobs and economic activity. And other local authorities now in Belgium are also looking into the opportunity to replicate this successful example. And relevant lessons for Stans, again, is this interesting ownership structure between citizens, city, and energy companies. The incentives for the first movers, I think this is really that needs to be studied very thoroughly, because one thing is to mobilize the local community, but the other one is not just to inspire, to move into action. And this is where money comes in. And maybe there is an opportunity for the city to be a liaison with banking institutions, with the state, to help this happen. The investment support mechanisms for the businesses, the leasing plans for like these short loans. And everything was based on research, like the baseline studies that we have been doing with Stans, and also much more that they have been doing, as of course the participatory process. So that's the end of my presentation, and thanks you very much for your attention. Thanks.
Pablo, for your presentation. No? Yes. thanks. Okay, Pablo, stay outside here, and I'd like to ask Rainer, Alex, and Fritz as well. We're doing some kind of improvised panel here, and we should squeeze in between these black lines, so because otherwise you won't be visible. So it's important that you fit in. Perhaps half of me as well somehow. So, okay, Pablo. You feel comfortable with that?
We are like the Eurovision. We can invite countries.
All right, and I'd like to open the floor to you now. So I see there are several questions via Slido. I'd like to start here. Are there any questions to the Stanz team, to Pavlos and his insights in the wider European field? Are there any questions so far? Yes, please. There is. We have all three in usage.
I have a question about e-taxi because it's still not clear to me. The cars are owned by Stanz, but municipality, operated by volunteers. Okay, and then they are charged at the stations which are operated by the company, energy company, or what's the concept?
We spend the electricity.
Mm-hmm.
The community spends. So we own the car.
Mm-hmm.
We supply the car, and the drivers spend their time.
I see.
Yes, and I'm a driver too.
Okay.
It's like you're sitting on Sigmund Freud on the couch,
Mm-hmm.
because if they realize the mayor is driving, they say, "Oh, you're driving? Can I ask you something?" So it's very, very interesting communication, because it's a tiny space inside a car. It's a totally different situation than I go to a bureau or something like that.
So a new way to get closer to the citizens for the mayor.
And very good way, and it's very affordable for the people here, because one ride within the community costs €2.50, and the ride to the neighboring communities and villages €3.50. So it's very affordable. And what Fritz also mentions always, so now we discovered how much hidden immobility we had in the village. So especially older people who are not able to drive. So they had been all the time dependent on the relatives to drive them to the doctor or the shopping. Now they are mobile anymore.
There are a lot of funny stories about that theme, because 2 months ago, this type of this Hupferbankel, they go from Kindberg to Birkfeld. So we have put out 45 pieces of that bankel, and two months ago there is a man sitting on one of them, and I go by and think, oh, I had to stop because I'm the mayor. If tomorrow everyone will know. So I stopped and I asked him, you need
lift.
transport?
Yeah.
You need lift? He said, no, just try it if it works.
Okay, so it did, apparently.
In relation to that, I just wanted to add that the driver was waiting for me for 45 minutes when I arrived to Kaffenberg. And I just wanted to say and express my gratitude, because he was absolutely cool when I came, and he was waiting for 45 minutes, and I was so much afraid that what's gonna happen. But he was a cool elderly man, so I'm very grateful for it. I think it's a great concept of.
Normally it costs one small beer.
In that case, I would get the big one. Thank you.
So you might have already heard beer is an important currency here in Stanz. So that's it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So next step, make a community-owned brewery.
Yeah.
Print money.
So my name is Karl Reiner. I'm also from the rural network, like Michael. I had two more questions about this model. One is, I think this exists already in other communities and some years. There was always a discussion about insurance. Is it still a question? And the other question is it also possible that the local people can share it or only with driver?
No, only with driver, and they do have insurance. The insurance for the car, for the driver, and for the people who are using it.
Okay, another question. Yes, for sure.
Hi, yeah. Very interested in the kind of local currency ecosystem idea. And what's very interesting is you're interested in trialing it here, but also your eyes are looking to see if it works here, can it be replicated in other places? So with that, if it works here, how quickly do you think something like this could be shared around Europe? And what kind of barriers do you think might be? Obviously, it's
so I think knowledge transfer, knowledge exchange is very important for us on the way. So and we also talked to Edina. For us, it's really a target also to be in a communication process, especially with you as part of the Rural 21 network. And so I think on this way, when we cooperate with who are interested, so we can adapt it very fast, I would say. But do you think? Anything to add?
I agree, and I would say, like, with Edina together, we should think about like a dissemination opportunity, like how from all the local rural villages, like how we can disseminate whatever is learning there, and how we can kind of have a network system where each of us knows what the other one is doing, and then we can share thoughts or also like see if we can walk the path a little bit together. And I think this is one thing that has to be established, and we have a year now with our project to like bring it to the ground, and within this year, I think also this dissemination system should be set up.
All right, so there is an offer from Stanz to participate from now on in the development, and so that could enhance pace of rolling out the experiences.
What we already know is that people are very interested in this model, because we give some drops to the press, and we had you had a great feedback. 2 weeks ago, we had a tall house council, and we put a list on a table and said there were 150 people or so. Please write down your name if you want to spend money in this model, and please write down your name when you're just interested. So we get 40 people, and 30 of them want to spend money. So we realize people are interested because they are thinking about money, and they're thinking about their money. It's a big difference. When you get engaged, if it's money from somewhere or if it's your own money. So to spend their own money, they are very shy, So we learned that they realized this is a chance to save a little energy cost.
I think I'll come back to that later on, because there is one question in Slido, and I'd like to hand over to Pablos as well, because the question is, it was to the German example that you presented, how were people convinced to accept this new energy process? They say how you convinced them, but I'm not sure if it was you.
All German.
All German, yeah. But how? Yeah, it's about. I mean, there are several questions about convincing somebody to join this process. But how was it in that?
It's a big topic. But let me just make a comment on the previous question on the local currency. Alternative currencies to money for transaction are not new things. When you go to the gas station to fill your car with gasoline, they ask you if you collect points. You go to the supermarket, they ask you if you collect points. You book a flight with any company, you collect points and you get perks. So this is not anything new. And the question here is to organize something in the more local level. If you can do it across multinational transactions, you can do it at a community of 2,000 people like Stans, because the technology exists. So it's not really, It requires certain level of organization and actually integrate it into the business plan where you don't only have euros, you also have other value. Now, this question about convincing people for societal transition, really, at the local or global level or country level, is something that is actually taking a lot of traction lately. And I think in the case of Wolfhagen, of course, it was not me that convinced citizens, and it's definitely not all German citizens. If you see what happened in the last elections, they take them like already 3 months to do a government. Not everyone is convinced. But I think successful examples that are functional and work can convince and can inspire. Let's start from there. And there are a lot of thinking happening right now, how we can escape the traditional ways of communicating this message for climate action and energy transitions. Usually what we have scientists going out there, usually in an alarmist tone, saying we are vulnerable to something, we're gonna die or whatever. And I'm speaking as a scientist as well. But now there is a discussion where the arts and culture come into play. We have like a new thinking about this transformative power that exists within our communities to be able to discuss and convince each other for change. Like what happened in the last 2 years, the whole world was changed to stay in their homes. And that was, you know, very, very shocking to, if you understand the reason why it happened, how it happened. I'm on the side that could be other ways, like social inclusion and mobilization. There are methodologies that coming from practice of innovation, diffusion, social sciences, and some of those methodologies are already being applied from the local team to engage people, to make them part of the process. And I'm sure like these are also observing in your communities as well. There's no answer to that, you know. Like what convinces people today might not be convincing tomorrow.
But may I hand over the question to Fritz, because Fritz, you just mentioned this event where you told people about the initiative and several, I think you said 30 or 40, just signed up. How did you tell them, very practically, just which words did you choose to explain these things that might sound complicated, as Alex and Rainer, there is a technical concept behind. How did you sell it?
Earning money. It's that simple, I think, because people, that's a very complex story. So if you begin to tell the whole story, say, like, I want to hear the next story, you know? And so you have only 1 minute to say them, what's your advantage? Save money. And a lot of them don't want to hear the whole story, because some of them are orientated not on their own perceptions. Maybe they hear much more to his neighbor, who is his big friend. Yeah, and here's the expert in electricities, for example. So it's not a good approach to tell the whole story, but the crucial point is they trust you. So you have just one chance. Yeah, that's the game, and you had to. I had to be very careful not to promise too much, because that's very yes, it's very fragile. Mm-hmm. So you had to be very certain that this one, what you are saying and talking to them, this is true. And all that stuff we are talking now, I trust you that it's working. Yeah, that's the game. So we will see.
Maybe just to add on one aspect, besides the money factor, I would say it's also the thinking about gradually independence from the traditional energy providers, and also the homo ludens, I would say. Because so our participation process in the other areas, there are more women integrated somehow. They're caring about community. Here we have more men with us on the way, and the Homo ludens is techies. So try to experiment with techniques. How does it work? And so go in this way. So I would say this is also a motivation on the way.
This is a very interesting point because I didn't want to stress the fact that we are very gender unbalanced here, but not just here. But you mentioned it now that this is more kind of with the topic, comes with the topic. But Alex,
yeah, please. I just wanted to add one point on social innovation in general. I think the change is that it's happening in public, that it's happening something like you have to do it in public, you have to work in public, you can't. Everybody has to leave the silos where you kind of think about things and you open it up to the community. And I think this is also what brings the trust, because you work in public every day. All of us, we live streaming. We don't hide what we are aiming for. We are very clear about this, and I think this is trust building. And then we have to fulfill, of course, but we get like a credibility out of like the working in public, and like the open innovation and the social innovation happens in public, and everybody can contribute if she or he wants, but there is no mandatory contribution. It's an invitation, and I think if you invite people, they come.
All right, so it's much about trust. It's not about telling always the whole story, always the whole complexity, but reduce it to something that can be taken. Yeah. All right. Okay. Despite the time we've got left, there are two questions open. One is directly to Pavlos. Are there any Eastern European energy communities that you are aware of?
I'm sure there are like even things happening between I have created this presentation and I'm standing in front of you. I know that there is a meeting now in the Balkans, in Albania. I was looking at social media this morning, and a friend of mine that is dealing with energy communities in Greece was posting photos. I didn't know about this event. So I think this will spawn very, very, very quickly, because there are new laws coming into play. There is new commitment. Like as we speak, there is a big meeting in Glasgow about energy, and energy communities are a big part of this transition. We can look closer to Eastern European energy communities if this is required. But well, in this study I did for Stans, we have made like the research in a way that is relevant to Stans. For example, we were also looking at cases from the United States where they are already operating smart microgrids with community-owned ledgers and blockchains and so on. I think the easy answer is yes. I think statistically speaking, there's a very good chance that there are several energy communities in Eastern Europe. I don't know anyone personally.
But I think we can refer to the Ecolease website or something where there are a lot of examples shown, isn't it? I think it's a very rich collection of partners or participants that there are can have a look what the Eastern European partners look like. All right, there is another question. We talked about convincing insight in the village, convincing people to participate. There is one question concerning convincing energy companies about the benefits of these new systems. What's your experience with that?
That's a fragile question. Well, one principle we do have is we are open-minded. So every knowledge we generate, we give to people who are interested. That's the opposite thing companies do. Yeah, that's the one point. The second point is every energy supplier they had to change their whole business model now. So some of them are very, very good in a good way. They say, "Come to us, let's talk together." Yes, we make together a new business model. But the other 50%, I think, they say in this way, that's a pity, I think, because there are so many chances, but their mindset is not there. So we have regulations, and the mindset of the big companies on the energy supply is not on this level. So they are fixed on the old world. That's the problem. And our talking to our supplier is we want to make want to make a model together, a Stands model, you know, a Standstarif, because the border is not the border of the municipality. The border is the border of the supplier. So many people are calling out from outside, I want to be part of your Stands community. That's a big problem for them, because their clients are, you know, they're orientating in a different direction. So we try to establish a cooperation. Yeah, it doesn't make, otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Maybe one important issue I want to add when we working on the local currency and on the renewable energy community is one part of our project within the next month is to make a clarification process with Financial Market Authority, because it is needed if you go in the direction of local currencies and if you go into blockchain currencies. So it's very needed that we have a legal base in what we are doing and what we want to do.
I think this is an important thing that I wanted to mention as well. I think there is a very interesting coincidence from a transaction theory perspective. So there are solutions developed in a niche in a local area, as you do, and there are developments on a regulatory basis. Yeah, the law that Rainer mentioned also makes new things possible, and this is very interesting because it comes together now. But Pavlos, what's your experience with this outside world energy company perspective?
I think right now it's really a transition phase. Like especially in most European countries, at least, like there is like staggering increase in energy costs. And this winter will be visible by everyone. And this is really an indication that a centralized system where energy produced in this part of the country is distributing all over the country. And, you know, in some places it's cheaper, some others are not, but everyone pays the same. And, you know, the costs are not equally divided to all this. Like, you know, the more people are getting aware about this injustice, because it's really energy injustice connected with energy poverty, especially not only in rural areas, but also in cities, the more people get aware, the more pressure exists to energy companies. And of course, these are not news you will see in the TV. And, you know, and this is the power of networking and community peer-to-peer, community-led learning, but also unlearning. The majority of our communities, societies need to unlearn the ways of how things happen now. And this has to happen in a way that, you know, they don't feel they sacrifice part of their freedom if the current energy system is inducing freedom at all. So I think the energy companies know of this change in people's awareness. Energy production becomes more expensive when it's massive scale, because resources are getting more and more pressed. And, you know, here the big question is, how genuine are these energy giants to jump into the to this new transition? Do they want just to show that they do business as usual, but they also have some sort of community dress? Or do they actually try to rediscover a new role to play in this new environment? And I think there are no experiences right now. Right now, it's all in the making, now as we speak. That's why I think it's important that these type of projects are supported and showcased as lighthouse examples, so we can have a direction of where we could go.
All right, thank you very much. So a very interesting point in time, very interesting perspective. Thank you, Pavlos, Rainer, Fritz and Alex, for your inputs. And I'll hand back to Edina.
Thanks a lot. So just before lunch, we are approaching to the final session of this block. is very important. We heard a lot from Stanz. Now we step out from the energy community perspective a bit. Yes, Anna is reminding me that we forgot one poll question, which is about energy community within this session. So if you who are online or here aware of any good local energy community examples, maybe you can also put if you know about Eastern European energy communities, associations and so on, because that was a question on Slido, and maybe some of you who are listening to us know about examples, or those who are sitting here. So please type your examples, maybe put the country, put the title of example, so that we have some ideas, maybe the name of the village or the community, and if you'd like any contact details so that we can follow up, because both Stanz and other villages are looking for similar examples. So we'd like to pick your brain a bit, those who are online and those who are here, so please put your questions there. Okay, so now we would like to move to 4 of our other smart rural villages, selected villages, because many villages are here and we want to hear about their approaches and to give you a chance to hear about other villages. So it's not strictly speaking energy community now, but different topics, and I don't want to keep up for so long. So I think we will start with Anso, if that's okay, from Spain, then Mukajov from Czechia, then Upony will be presented, our national expert from Hungary, and Szentviska will close the line, okay? I will ask each of you to really stick to the 10 minutes maximum, okay? Because then there is no time for the others and we want to leave some questions. Please keep asking questions as well through Slido. We will be checking those. So if you have any questions to the presenters, please do so. Blanca, and I never know how to pronounce Monse. Maybe you can start.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Stans, for this welcome so warm and so great. Thank you, Ana and Edina, also for the organization. And we are Montse Castan and Blanca Alfonso. She's the mayor from Anso. It is a small town in the Pyrenees, and I am the development counselor. And so, this is Anso. You can see the ubication. It's in the northern of Spain, in the Pyrenees, in the mountains between France and Spain, and it's also a border with another region. We are a very isolated place, and that has an impact in our mentality and our ways to live. Anso has a huge territory. There's 250 square kilometers, and it has only a village. We live there approx 300 people, and it is everything together. In the houses are beside from the other, and okay, there is a valley with a very great beauty and biodiversity and plants and animals. Architecture is traditionally Pyrenean, and we have we were declared as an interest good of, we have a lot of prizes won. Cultural, we have also a great cultural patrimony in our costumes, and our economy is based in livestock farming and wood traditionally. But now it comes another factor, this is tourism. That is very important for us to survive, but also brings problems with them. So, ya lo he dicho. Okay. So our reality, as we came 2019, the new corporation in the town hall, we did an analysis what we have and where we want to go. And we see a problem in all the areas that impact. This is the decreasing from population. That threat, that is a danger that all our services can disappear because of this. And you can see how our population is decreasing, and that's a very, in the latest years, is a very quick development. ¿Cómo? Ya está, ¿no? ¿Puedes pasar? Okay. Okay. Also, and then we began to think what can we do, and we first made a quite plan what things can we change in our village, and what are the causes why we are so decreasing. And we began also a participating process with the children. Our school is a very innovative school. The pupils are very autonomous, and they design a lot of things what they want to learn, and we ask them to cooperate. And then they design a questionnaire, and they did interviews in the representative of the people, and they asked them what they want to have in the future for their villages. And so we have a result, and then we come to the smart village strategy, and so we began to work on them. In this, the result from this process and from this thinking, what can we do, is has several areas who we want to act. This is in housing, because it is a very big problem. Young people don't find a place to rent. And we have several actions in housing. Another problem is by us the connectivity, because we want to get more people to live in our areas, and we think teleworking is a very good chance, and we need a better connectivity. And we work naturally in the times where we are, and then we want to contribute in renewable energies. We want to work sustainable. We want to engage the people, because nowadays is a very, very low engagement, and we want to promote that people want to be more entrepreneur mentality. Bueno. Okay, that are the areas, and then we have designed several actions. And then we start with a program to activate owners to rent their houses, because they are afraid. They don't want to rent the houses to people, and we help them with the papers. We pay insurance for them, and we build also flats, what we need, what we call trampoline flats for young people. To they are in municipal ownership, and this yeah. Okay. For newcomers and for young people. that's in very affordable prices. Okay. We have one of the you can say modest projects. What we have, it is very important for us, is building with the people from the school an outdoor class. They are together building this class, and we are very involved with them. They plant trees and have hens, and they want also to experiment with photovoltaic energy. And we have also an sawmill, an old sawmill. We want to rebuild it as a multi-activity center for several activities, for industry, small technology works, and also for social meeting places. We are also involved in a pilot project, and we want to value what services and environment has our valley, and how many CO2 capture or forest, and how in order to get in a compensations market, because we want to get some money, and in order to make a good management of our forest. We had a biomass plant who was closed because she didn't was rental, and we want to activate it if it is possible, maybe with this money. And we want to create a community, a care community for children. They are not in the school, and for old people. That's more an idea now. And some projects are almost done. Some projects are in the middle, and another since ideas. But that's quite our plan. We want also to install photovoltaic and hydraulic energy in order to supply our buildings, and maybe to offer to people, to private people, to be there. That's our plan for the multi-activity center in the old sawmill. And so we are in dialogue with several instances, regional and in the government, and yeah, we try to implement our ideas now. And this is all.
Well done. Really, it's not sometimes you did it perfectly. You were worried, but it was perfect. Okay, very good. So please keep asking. Maybe we stop after the second one. We will check the questions. If those who listen to us online would have questions, we will check those. And here, those of you who are sitting here, maybe if anyone has a quick question while I bring up the presentation, the next one from Mukajov, Katerina. You're here already, good. Any questions to answer in the meantime? Not yet. Thank you. Yes, or this one. Yeah. Okay, Katarina.
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Kateřina Čadělová. I am a deputy mayor of Mukařov. What's a village in central Bohemia in the Czech Republic. I just to prepare really very quick and fast presentation to have the idea where we are located. We are only 35 kilometers far from Prague, or Praha, the capital of the Czech Republic. So that's why we are not the real rural area, how you probably imagine it. We are the suburban area of Prague. So our challenges are probably quite different from most of you, but still I think that we are not the city, we are really in the countryside, and that we are happy to be part of this project and these discussions. A little bit more about our village. It's in fact not one village, but three formerly independent villages. Mukařov is the central part, and what is important, if you see that orange line, that's the state road which connects Prague and Kutná Hora. It's a very beautiful historical city. If you come to our country, please visit it because it's really nice. And there used to be silver mines, so that's the old royal road from the capital to the place where the first silver coins were made in the medieval age. And that's why we are really in very main traffic road and on that crossroad. So Mukařov used to be that crossroad, and then church and the school and parish office. So it was a natural center of that region for centuries. But all the population there started to come there between wars, because it used to be like holiday resort. That's why we have quite a lot of holiday houses still, or very small like cottages there. And the other parts are pretty different, because in the South Sabine, it used to be really rural village. You still can see some fields, which unfortunately are getting to be covered with new houses. So that's why we are this suburban of Prague. And in the north, Žernovka, that's village where there were some other mines, and it's still something very specific with the population that didn't change very much for some time. So key facts, very briefly, we have 2,700 people now. And it's not all, because in the new houses especially, many people are living, but they are not registered there. They still have their permanent addresses in Prague because of taxes and some properties. So that's our challenge, because we are not getting money for that people, but they are enjoying living there and taking benefits of our services. These three parts I explained already. By the way, this is a roundabout at the crossroad in the middle of Mukařov, and this statue is like pointing to these three parts of it. And there is still very heavy traffic because we are quite parallel to some highways, but these highways are toll. So if lorries don't want to pay the toll, they are using this road still. We have school for almost 700 pupils, post office, some bigger stores and doctors. And we are the Prague satellite, and it means that our population really doubled in last 20 years. So that's that's what I'm talking. And the next slide. This picture is from a welcoming event for newborn citizens. So it was the last event. We made it in June this year, and we had almost 30 babies welcoming to our citizens. But it's nice, but it also causes some problems with the infrastructure, because the school is not enough big. We don't have medical care for them. And also the traffic, not only the transit, but also commuting to work is causing more and more problems. We are still fighting with the sewage system, or not fighting, but while all the other surrounding villages have solved it in last decades, we were investing to the school. So now we finally got some finance from the European funds to build it. So in next 2 years we will again dig out 2/3 maybe of our streets and build this sewage system. Roads and pavements, that's always complaining, because it's also something which is not finished and not very nice. We miss space for gathering people, because we have just very old gym, like gymnasium, but it's really small and not very well equipped, and it's full of people doing sports, but there is no facility to meet, like a theater or something like this. And what we are constantly solving or fighting with is the integration of newcomers to local community. And what we realized, especially during the pandemic time, teenagers, because we built a lot of spaces, like playgrounds for small kids, but this group there is no offer for them, and actually those children for whom we were building those first playgrounds now grew up, and they are at their teens age, and we really don't have any program for them. What we have achieved? I can say we have quite a modern website. It's been 2 years old already. We have an incentive system of waste management. It means that people can follow how much waste they produce. They have their individual accounts, and all garbage collected from households are recorded by the company which is collecting garbage, and we can give some benefits to people who separate the renewable parts of the garbage, and who have altogether not low production of garbage. We put all our administration to cloud, so we are mostly independent. We can work from any part. Even I could work from here. What I'm personally proud of is our cultural and community center. I was talking about it yesterday because it used to be a school building at the time when we built a new school building. This was really empty and nobody knew what will happen with that building. There were just 4 small classrooms, and at that time we tried to use it at the first just for like maternity center for mothers and small children. But gradually it grew up as a really free time center for all generations, beginning really from the babies through school children who have both like educational courses there and a kind of club that they can spend their time in the afternoons after school. And we have many courses also for adults and for seniors. There is a public library in that building, and we have also social services. It's like a consultancy service, but it's mostly paid by the municipality, and it really we have 2 very nice ladies there who can really advise anybody if he or she had any problems that cannot solve by herself or himself. To be smart a little bit more, we got also public Wi-Fi network granted from the EU, Wi-Fi for EU. And we are a member of the Smart Village Network since 2011. Our engagement in this project, Smart Rural 21, we were among the first 5 villages. Thanks to that, we wrote our smart strategy, and in that strategy, our main objectives were or are improve efficiency of the governance processes and opening municipality office for online communication. We are hardly working on it right now. We hope that beginning of January, our citizens will be able to pay their fees online, like in an e-shop. And that it's important because we already had these waste management accounts, but that's just information. But with that portal, people will be able to pay directly. We are trying to attract citizens to participation. Before COVID, we had the first round of participative projects. First 2 of this were like addition to our community center with some facilities outside. Very simple playground when people can go for free and then play volleyball or badminton or whatever. And the next or the third one I will be talking later about because it was focused on these teenagers. Reducing commuting of local inhabitants. Actually, it was our aim, but I think that COVID pandemic had solved it because really many people who used to commute every day to Prague now realize that they can use home offices, and they quite often do it. And a responsible approach to the environment. Beside that waste management, there is also some efforts, or there are some efforts in waste waters, because that's a big issue, but it goes together with the sewage system. And where we are now and what we hope, I already mentioned that portal of payments. We are also going to launch a new round of participative projects, probably because we learned from the first round, we will focus it more than we will say citizens that there is some like free space for you. You can some municipal property, and you can suggest what could be done with that space. We are trying to enhance our waste management system, and I already talked about it, the sewage. And that's our new addition to this agenda of the Smart Rural 21. It's the Teens Club. And that's really a new initiative that I must say replaced our original area to big co-working center in our culture and community center. Because we had several yeah, just we made a survey that really both parents and these young adults or children really feel that they would like to be more social. So we started to run a club with regular opening hours. You can see this party. They were doing these dumb pumpkins for Halloween, and that's I think that's not very smart yet, but it's the opposite side that we would like to learn these young people to use technologies in a creative way, not just passively consuming something. And what we hope is that they will together in this participative projection, they will be included in it, and I hope that today and in the afternoon they will talk about the playground for this group, because we used to think about any parkour. Now it's getting to be more like workout, but we would really like to build a place where they could do some exercises and also gather like outside, but I hope that they will be directly involved in it. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I didn't yet see questions on Slido. I don't know if anyone has quick questions here, but maybe we go to the other presentations as well, because I think time is pressing and we want to give the opportunity to the other two villages. But please, if you are online and watching us, please keep asking questions, and I will hand the microphone to the audience here at the end. So Geza is our national expert, and I trust, because he's good in this kind of sharp presentation, so you will keep the time.
Okay, try. So
no pressure.
No pressure, I understood. Yeah. So I will present the Hungarian example, which is, if we accept that Stans is quite ahead of the development scale, this is the other end. So this is the picture of the village, and it is situated in the periphery of Hungary, and especially this northern-eastern part is a very poor, underdeveloped region. Formerly, it was a heavy industry center, and these villages are really in a very difficult situation. Main characteristics, connectivity, so it's a very remote situation. It's lagging behind in all kind of characteristics. It's a tiny village. It was once around 600-700, and now it's under 300 inhabitants. Topography is hilly, not so high hills like here, but almost. Agricultural productivity is very poor. Almost no arable lands, only pastures and forests. And the forests are mainly state-owned. So it's a special situation in Hungary that the inhabitants can't really make profits or any other projects from the biomass or dendromass there. The net income per capita, I would draw your attention to that number. It's an annual net income per capita. So any kind of social contribution on resource, etc. So there is a limit there. And there was a question beforehand on the difference between Eastern European and the Western European financing examples, whatever. That's a limit. On the other hand, so we need completely different kinds of tool or toolkits to develop such communities. There is a fortunate characteristic. The most popular trekking trail, the blue line, goes through the village. It is really getting very popular. So every day, even not only on weekends, you can see families trekking there, and they need services, accommodation all the time. Rich natural capital, the landscape is beautiful, biodiversity is very rich. The only problem is that the poverty is shown by the fact that they are burning garbage. So it's a special waste management system. So that's one problem we should tackle there. Traditional rural architecture, and we have 16 guest houses there. So there is some initial tourism capacity. The smart vision of the strategy, they want to create an attractive tourism spot, basing everything on this trekking line. They would like to develop climate consciousness and resilience through improving and maintaining biodiversity, which is really considerably rich there. And also using innovations to utilize the local resources, which is mostly biomass, to provide food and energy. The difficulty there is that most of the biomass is grass, and that's it, or hay, if you like. And they would like to build a strong collaborative community. The strategy itself is quite holistic, so it's concentrating on every areas. The main challenges they have selected is of course, like everywhere is except for Mukajo, it's aging and decreasing and contra-selected population, because those people who are remaining there are not the richest and most educated people, etc., etc. And in several aspects, like for instance health, they are among the worst stratum. Poverty, I mentioned the garbage burning, very high level of unemployment, almost complete lack of SMEs and local products, very loose and eroded community. That's also something which is very Eastern European. If you look at the historical process or track record, it would be a miracle if it would be a strong community, actually. Underdeveloped infrastructure and lack of services. So that's the baseline. Some selected actions from the strategy, they were thinking about asking help through the project to one of these ideas. One was producing leaf protein and biogas from grass, which they have a lot. The other was using the local biomass and household waste, which is food waste, to produce insects and feed them with fish. It's an existing technology they have seen in the region I am coordinating. On the other hand, in the Trans-Danubian part, it's an EIP project. And the third one was to develop the abandoned cellar hill into a unique sustainable tourism attraction. they have selected the third one because it was an easy path, and the extent of the help which could come from this project fits better with this idea, but they didn't give up the other ones. The other ones were coming from the fact that the units or the quantity of protein you can gain from a hectare if you produce, for instance, beef. Let's say it's one unit. If you produce protein through wheat or even beans or something like that, to soybeans, you can have 3 times a bigger quantity. But if you extract leaf protein from, for instance, from grass, you can see the proportion. And it is also a disruptive technology which is coming, and they would like to use it in the future. There are examples for that. This is the outline of the unit, which is using insects and fish together. So these were the other ideas they have looked into. This is the idea they have selected for elaboration now. There is an old cellar hill which is completely abandoned and in a very bad situation now. You can see on the third picture that it is at the edge of the village, and the blue trekking line is just coming through that hill. So it's almost coming through these old cellars. This is the present situation. More than 150 or something units like this. Traditionally, they were ripening wine in these small cellars. They are making these cellars into the bedrock, which is a sort of sandstone, but it's very soft. And some of the cellars are renovated in the last decades in a very strange way. So that's also something which causes difficulties. So there are abandoned, municipality-owned cellars, and cellars owned by local inhabitants, and also cellars, lots of cellars inherited by children, grandchildren, and they are living in cities now. So these are the ownership structure, let's say. And on the other hand, these visitors coming through the blue trekking line, they seek for accommodation, local food, other products, recreation and wellness capacity. Therefore, they decided to renovate them into a sort of hobbit village or something like this, offering such services. So that's a typical old cellar, a typical renovated one. And innovative elements in that project is the modus operandi, because they would like to combine the private crowdfunding financing with public shares or with public money. So the municipality is eager to participate, and there is a group of 30, 40 people, young people, who are living in cities now, who are willing to finance or participate in this project. So the other innovative element is the architectural and landscape design. It is now under a contest, or it's a competition between young artists and universities in Budapest. So they are working on concepts, on visual concepts of renovating those cellars and the whole landscape. The next steps, what is going on now is mapping. So we need a geo-referred orthophotos, drone photos, cadastral borders to show the ownership situation, vegetation coverage, and so on, to provide the basis for planning. There is a geomechanical survey to explore possible extension of these cellars, because we were thinking about bigger rooms in the hill, and even interconnections between the cellars. Architectural concept I mentioned, and the landscape management design. And also, we would like to work on the sustainable energy and public utilities supply for a hill like that. And also, which is the most important part on the legal and business concept, which is we should clarify these property ownerships and clarify how to participate, how can young people, the municipality, local citizens can participate and in which legal form to operate this new tourist spot. And also we should find the crowdfunding methods for that. So that's roughly and briefly the example of Hungary.
Thanks a lot. Yes, so different pictures from the different villages. It's a beautiful area though, so a lot of potential, but definitely many more challenges in many ways. So last but not least, Szentviska. Gora Plateau, the girls will introduce themselves, and please, we will check if there are any questions online, which we will answer at the end, and if there is none, I think we will just go for lunch after this session, but yes, I've got a few announcements afterwards, and you can come in as well, Rainer. Okay, I'm just talking and not replacing the slides, sorry. Maybe in the meantime, you can introduce yourself.
Okay. Hello to everyone again, and a big hello from us. We are Nives. And my name is Polonca, and today we will talk about our home in Slovenia. So we'll move to Slovenia for 10 minutes, and we will present first briefly our Szentviska Gora Plateau, where we live, and then we will talk about our smart idea. This is our intergenerational center. Okay, we have a... No. Shall I?
Yes, if you know the.
I have it in mind.
That's what we have in mind. Okay. Okay, it's nice. It's also.
I took some photos around the plateau of the plants that would show how we would like to. And I draw some bees that would represent us as a working community. We are hardworking peasants working on the land. So I took again, for those who didn't hear before, I took some photos on the plateau about our flowers that represent our idea, connecting our community together in one center. And I draw bees that would stay in your minds. They would, they are supposed to show that we are hardworking. And in the past, we had this small factory on the plateau where people went to work in the morning, and in the afternoon we were all farming, and each family had a small farm. And now this is changing. There are just a few big farmers taking into rent all the land that can be worked on with tractors, and all the slopes that should be worked by hand, they are forest is growing, and a lot of people are just living there without working on the land. and going to work in the valley, because we live on the plateau that is between two river valleys, and we have to commute daily if we want to earn the living. So basically, on the plateau could live only 3, 4, 5 farmers from the land. Okay, are we here? This is additional, what I'm filling in. I didn't want to tell you all this, but I have to. Okay.
Maybe in the meanwhile, there was a question on YouTube. We saw, so for those who are online, like Geza, it was in Hungary, like how the community is engaged was the question that they didn't see in Uppony. Can you say some positive?
Okay, I try. The municipality was quite active, which is a fortunate thing because it's not always like that. And the key energy between the whole movement is coming, unfortunately, from a few guys who are not living anymore in the village, but went to cities and earning well and have a high-level education. And there are around 4 young people in the village who are active. Among them, 2 girls who are also sitting in the municipality council are the key activists. So altogether, unfortunately, not more than around 8 active citizens in the group.
May I just ask Katarzyna in her where I here? I was wondering similar question about participation in your processes and how that fits with the new ones that come in that move to your village. Are they participating? Are they participating more than the other inhabitants? What's your experience?
I can say that you are right that the newcomers are more active than the old settlement, but there are some exceptions like the firemen, for example. That's by the way, I heard this noise of sirens. I don't know how it's in English. So that's the same in our village because we have very, very good firemen who really, I'm counting it, in 7 minutes they are able to start for a fire or an accident. And they are voluntaries, they are not professional. And they have some assembly and they are doing events for public and they are very active. But like all these new things like a community center, they are most fed by the newcomers. Yeah, but I think it's general because there are young families with small children and there are the women who are at home and seeking for activities and for education for the children and also for themselves. So, by the way, I haven't mentioned it that if I have time, I think that we have one new program that we will train memories or memory training. That's a specific training program for both elderly people and the mothers on maternity leave. And when the mothers are at the educational program, we care for their children. So that's really a win-win situation. And one thing I forgot to tell, but you are already ready, that Edina mentioned it at the beginning that with the teenagers we have young people like coordinators. They are university students, 21 years old, 2 girls who are normally studying at Prague, but they grew up at our village and they are both like these newcomers, but the next generation already. So they are very active and they really are running that teenagers clubs very actively and they invented new things for that group. But I can talk.
Thank you.
Presentation. So for those who hadn't been here yesterday and parking their car in front of the house here, I want to ask if you can relocate to the parking space over there, 100 or 200 meters, because these parking slots are missing for the customers of the shop, except the technical teams who has the technique in the cars. So I saw yours, and would be nice before we go to lunch if you can relocate. And we have to rearrange the room because we have warm lunch today here. So the catering is provided by Trixie. Will be very nice, but we will take the tables and the seats and rearrange the room. So you will be here after relocating the car. Okay, thanks. So the floor is yours.
We are sorry for this, but okay. So this presentation is divided somehow into parts. The first part is about Šentviška Gora Plateau and something about this smart rural project. And then in the other part, Nives will explain how this idea came and everything connected to it. So Šentviška Gora Plateau, maybe just where are we? It is the Šentviška Gora Plateau lies in Slovenia's pre-alpine region. It is near to Italian border, and it is about 600 meters above the sea level. There is approximately over 600 inhabitants that live in 3 bigger villages. So the plateau is also surrounded at its base by 2 beautiful rivers. So who are we? Who are people who live on plateau? We are characterized by our attachment to land, by perseverance, willingness to help, and remoteness. So that's us. What do we do? Of course, the mainly people or inhabitants are mainly engaged in agriculture, especially livestock, crop farming, and forestry. So mostly we commute to near bigger towns for work. We also have a branch primary school and gym. This is a new building of it. And there are 10 volunteer associations which hold various cultural and sport events, so that we do a lot of things together. Maybe some information and some pictures about what you get if you visit us and what you can do on our plateau. So because of its plateau, it offers a lot of opportunities for sport activities, especially like running, hiking, cycling. We also have a small ski slope for winter time. So we do a lot of sport. We are especially on Slovenian national level, known also for this Gora Roka music festival. It's known by its charity note, so that it is more and more 3 years visited. Now it's been 15 years since this festival is going on. Of course, I've mentioned already natural sites. we really have, it's a great place to come down, to come and, so come and see how beautiful is it. You are very welcome. There is also some cultural sites. You can visit a church that was designed by the famous Slovenian architect Jože Plečnik. It is also known on European level. Then we have this reconstructed mill and a wooden granary dating back to 778. So I would like to point out now some things about our development strategy until 2027. We have, there are some things that are still going on, like several goals. Residential neighborhood is the first one. The plans for this residential neighborhood are adopted, and in the next few years, the basic infrastructure for a new settlement will be built. And this neighborhood will be, of course, devoted to young families seeking to move to the plateau. Then there is a camp at Prapetno Brdo, the traditional rock festival Gora Roka, as I have already mentioned it, already has a good reputation and receives several thousand visitors every year. Most of the villagers are voluntarily engaged in its organization, and all profit also goes to the public needs of these 3 villages at the plateau. So upgrading of the local event will with broad echo will be done with the building of this camp at the Prapetno Brdo site. Then there is also a broadband and a creation of the trademark of the Šentviška Planota Plateau. But of course, primary goal that will Nives represent is to build cross-generational center for daily care of the elderly. We have some things that we have already done, so implemented smart actions like forming. We have already formed a working group for this project and conduct a survey across the plateau. We had a cross visit from Finland and of course some promotion in local paper and radio. What do we have in plan? A workshop with children for brainstorming on how to participate, a workshop with all potential stakeholders in the center, and we would like to create a 3D model of the center, so to make a decision on the content. And what do we need in this moment is an architect for creating 3D model, and which, of course, for which we need funds and funds to upgrade the existing documentation on the building. So this is something that and now if we go a bit back and project.
From bottom up, we go to work every day, and all the members of our group that are working on this project. And I would like to say from my personal experience how we came to this, our house, we call it, idea. Our current challenges, same as everywhere. We commute every day for work. And we are off the plateau most of the day. This is for the active people, usual day. At that time, older people are home alone, and people who retire are faced with this empty space with no activities. And our children who come back from home are a few hours alone in front of the computers or somewhere, especially if you don't have grandparents who would take care of them. So how this idea was born, I was forced to stop working for 3 years. I had a big challenge that I had to overcome, and I was forced to stay at home, and I saw those lonely people in their houses. and I saw how important it is to talk to them. How I started to grow my old love. I started sewing this patchwork and a lot of nice products, and women came and ordered me these products, and they trusted me their problems. And when they came and collect the product, we talked some more, and I found out that these talks are the most important thing of the whole process of sewing. And I saw how many people need this. And I saw old people were shifted off the plateau once they couldn't live by their own. They were forced to leave their hometown, their old way of life on the farm with the nature, and go and live in the valley. And I saw that our plateau has been asleep for quite some decades now. We have no tourism, no tourist capacities, and we have this empty building that was built by volunteers for school that is now not working anymore. And this building was renewed with some funds from the earthquake 20 years ago, and it's finished outside. You will see the pictures afterwards. And we would like to finish it inside. And we would like to fill it with the right content. The content that would connect our community, our villages, and would enrich our life. The basis would be daycare for the elderly, center for daily activities for the retirees, young retirees. And they would, on the voluntary basis, they would come and help in the center. This would be, there would be an afternoon and holiday childcare. We need food in this center because we would, the people would like the food to be, to have delivered the food also to their homes. We would upgrade, the center is in 2 levels, the building, and in the upper level, we were inspired by this, your Trixie and the flats above. It's very similar what we would need. We would like to have some rooms also for potential tourists, and space for socializing is the most important thing. Once the community would be connected and would take care of their inhabitants, we could then upgrade the life with new projects. The communication would be easier. We would like to get involved all these stakeholders. We are now convincing and meeting different levels of this people. Like, first of all, us women had to convince our men that we need this, because it's more a women topic, this care for children, care for elderly. And now we also had a meeting with the mayor and also with Social Security Service, and we are seeking information how to connect these potential stakeholders to achieve these goals. Our primary goal is to connect community, to show our children that we care about our elderly, to show our children that old time is something that they could look forward to, that every day in our lives, even if we are older, counts and we can do something about it. And we would like to overcome this ego system that is now raising everywhere, that we should think about our community needs and how to help one another. We still know each other. It's precious. We still help, one neighbor still helps another, but we are not sure that the young people is still willing to do that. And we would like to transfer this way of life to young people, to potential young families who would come and live on the plateau. And we would like to show this way of life also to a group of, let's say, tourists who would come and stay with us for a week and participate in our workshops with the elderly. Our path, this is our building, this is the old school property renewed in this state, and it has been like this for 20 years. It's quite big, 380 square meters, and something like that on the upper floor. Current status, big rooms, nice, with a lot of light. And one important thing that we did was the survey. 20 volunteers helped us to do the survey on the plateau. These were women who were still active, retirees. We made 2 workshops, explained the idea, print out leaflets explaining the idea of center, and ask them also what would they would like, what people would like. And we were surprised how much, how good results did we get. People supported the idea almost 100%. They gave a lot of initiatives, what they would need. It's like, we would need a small shop. We need a kitchen for our meals. We need like once a week hairdresser, once a week a masseuse, stuff like that. We wanted to give them the opportunity to cooperate, and they were grateful. They said, "Oh, nice, you asked us." So 90% would use the services of the center, so they, in the old age, wouldn't have to leave their homes premature, so they could stay on the plateau as long as possible. So the idea is that you are there in the daycare, the young retirees are keeping you company, and the children, when they come from school, they learn about old knowledge about the land, working on the land, and the young people are teaching how to use all the digital stuff for the elderly. And this is it. This is our first step that we want to do, because we are convinced that once the community is connected in a good cause, we can apply other smart projects. This is it. Okay.
All right, I think it's been quite a long afternoon. Thanks a lot. It is very interesting and very inspiring, I think. Thanks for those who are still watching us. I can see that some people are still online.